can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding from the words I spit. So sharp, so freezing, so cold. Behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts peeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on kneeling. Got lust for change, I just love the feeling. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. And I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon.
What's happening, YouTube and the internet? Terrence here, and welcome back to another Inside the Lab live stream. What is going on? We are here. And if this is your first time viewing, and it's your first time tuning into our live show, do be sure to let us know in the comment section. If you're here on the replay, also do be sure to let us know. Sorry, I was trying to get my mic together. Do be sure to let us know in the comment section as well. What is going on, tech world, tech fam, lab fam? What's happening? It's good to see you. Thank you for helping us get back to our regular viewing schedule, and that is our weekly live show that airs once a week here on the channel every Saturday around this time. We are on Eastern Standard Time, but around this time, if you have any questions about anything that's discussed along the way throughout the duration of this live stream, please feel free to ask. If you're a viewer that's concurrent with us now, but most importantly, if you are a replay viewer, if you have any questions about anything that's discussed throughout the duration of this live stream, there will be chapters after the live stream airs that will make it easier for you, the viewer, to follow along with the conversation. And you could also tag timestamps as well at any point during this live stream. We got a lot to cover, as you saw in the title, with 13 reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer, or that is to get into PC gaming. If you haven't yet, and it's something you've been considering, you've been on the fence, and you said, you know what, Lab, I've needed a reason. I needed at least 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons to get into PC gaming. You need to make me aware of the benefits and why it's even worth it to make the leap. Sure, it's expensive. PC gaming has always been expensive. Sure, there's a moderate learning curve, but once you get over that, it's downhill from there. And things like maintaining your system or even performing your own system upgrades will be much, much easier for you to handle. Or even yet, if it's not you doing it, then it's even easier for you to delegate and say, put that task on to someone else. See, now you know what to expect, because you may not be comfortable with doing it yourself, but again, you know what to expect. You know what goes into getting your system up together, or to getting your system together and getting your setup all put up together. Really fast here before we jump in, I just want to say hello and what's up to the family. I see we got a few viewers trickling on in. Our regulars, WASCD, is good to see you, Cliff. Cliff says, word up. Yeah, I'm back in town. We went out of the country. I was following your Instagram of your vacation, man. I hope that was relaxing, and I'm sure it was well deserved. Sparta Rules 1993 is also in the house. It's good to see you, Sparta Rules. It's good to see you. Sparta Rules is a channel member, so I would like to take a special moment to give Sparta Rules a special welcome for supporting the channel as a channel member, and in that way, if you will, in a, I guess you say, a monetized way. And if you are considering signing up for a channel member, you can find the link in the description box below with all the perks you'll gain access to as well. Spider Rules, thank you for being a channel member. If you're able to, there should be a feature in the chat where you could celebrate your anniversary or your time as a channel member. So if you can, drop that in the chat below. And if you're considering wanting to support the channel in a direct way, consider joining as a channel member. The more members we have joined the membership club, then the more perks and the more exclusive content that will roll out over there. Excuse me, that will roll out over there on the community tab and other places, especially when we get the new studio up and running and we are back to our regular content, our regular content distribution, and things are back on schedule. Cliff says, yeah, it was nice. We had a great time, but after a week, it was nice to get home. I imagine so. I bet you it was nice to get home to that fancy PC and that glorious RTX 3090 you were able to pick up. Awesome stuff. And yes, most of us are aware that NVIDIA released the RTX, or announced, I'm sorry, it's due to release next month. But NVIDIA finally pulled the curtains back on the RTX 4080 and the RTX 4090. Not going to talk a lot about it in this live stream, as it's not necessarily relevant to the topic, but we will touch on it just a little bit, and you'll see here why later on in this live stream, or we'll get to a point to where it makes sense to add it to this topic or to this live stream. But we're actually going to save that for a separate video, because I do have some of my personal opinions and thoughts on the upcoming launch, and I really think that GPUs, I really think the tides have pivoted, if you will, and now GPUs are once again back in an interesting place. But this time it's not bad, as we just got done dealing with the 2020 to 2022 GPU techdemic. But yeah, we're gonna jump right into it here. Spider Rule says, I'm sorry, Cliff says, WSAD Move says, it was hello, Mrs. Mind and Spider Rules. Yeah, shout out to our moderator, Mrs. Mind, keeping the conversation live and going, and welcoming in new viewers. Again, if you're a first-time viewer, I don't know, fam. Let us know in the comment section below. Tell us where you are in your journey, or where you at in your PC gaming journey, or your enthusiast journey. We welcome all builds, shapes, and sizes here. There's no judgment, no judgment, and no prejudices held. If your PC costs you $300-400 and it's able to do the things you need and want it to do, sure, it may not do those things great, but it's able to do the things you need and want to do. Share in that experience with us. Maybe we can help you take your experience to the next level, or enhance your experience as a PC gamer with side grades, if you will, or moderate upgrades, mild upgrades. And likely throughout the duration of this live stream, there could be questions presented that you yourself may not have considered or even thought of. So do be sure to stick around, especially for the final end, as the title indicates, number 13, and our 13 reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer and to get into PC gaming. Number 13 may or may not shock you. For those who are regular viewers here in this community, or regular subscribers, and man, salute to our subscribers. I hate to deflect or get off track here, but I've been studying my analytics to try to grow as a content creator, and it's alarming of how many viewers or how many subscribers or how many people watch our content and aren't even subscribers, or don't have the notification bell turned on. It's mind-boggling. So do be sure to double check that you are subscribed and that you do have the notification bells on if you haven't been receiving the content notifications here on the regular from YouTube. Some of you have told me in the past that that's been the case, but I can't address it if I'm unaware. So if notifications have been tricky or wonky, do let me know. I did send the email list out, or I did send an email to our email community, our insider list, for a reminder of this live stream. So that's an alternative way that you can stay updated by joining our email list. We'll drop a link here in the chat, and don't leave now at any point. Should you have to go, first and foremost, like the stream, but should you have to go, do be sure to sign up for our email list so you can receive content updates as a second form, or a second factor to YouTube's notification system should they not go out. So Chop Chop, it's good to see you. Chop Chop is in the house. What's happening, Chop Chop, with the YouTube play button? Yeah, right behind me, representing the platform that I love live streaming on. I've been considering experimenting on Twitch once we get back into our home studio, but and other video platforms, but man, the YouTube is where it's at. It's one of my favorite places to create content and just engage with so many different people here in this community. But Chop Chop, I don't think we've had the opportunity or met and engage. So let us know if this is your first time here as a viewer. If you're a regular, then my bad. But if this is your first time, do let us know. Do be sure to hit the like button for me. Let us know what your system specs are, or if you're building a system and you have an idea of what those parts are going to be. Also, let us know if you have any questions. Again, this community is super helpful, super thoughtful. I don't have all the answers myself. I don't know everything, but I do know enough to help you get started, or to help you, again, take your experience to the next level. So if that's you, Chop Chop, again, let us know. And if that's you, the viewer who is here or on the replay, again, let me know down in the comment section below. I also do want to give a shout out to Cliff, because Cliff on last week's live stream actually guessed the secret code. The secret code was secret code. I was telling Mrs. Mott, I'm like, I couldn't say like a specific code, because anybody who was watching last weekend could have just typed it in the comment section below, maybe on a burner account or something like that. But Cliff actually was smart enough to pick up that the secret code was actually secret code. And I said that if you made it this far towards the end of the video, then here's your secret code. Type it in the comment section below. I'm not going to say what it is. So again, kudos and shout out to Cliff again for giving our replay a watch. Fam, listen, not going to bore you to death with YouTube analytics, statistics, and methods and strategies to grow, but the more you watch the videos, the longer you watch them, the better it is that YouTube, or the higher the chances that YouTube will push the video out in front of people. So I know that in this instance that, yeah, Cliff watched the whole thing because he made it all the way to the end of the video. And that was before the time chapters dropped. But again, our replay viewers, time chapters should be here. That way you can skip past all this stuff here. This is more so for our live viewers, but all good game. Excuse me, it's still all good game. If you're here with us now live, or if you're catching on the replay and you're just seeing how the community flows and how I am as your host. Cliff says, picked up a Z77 socket 1155 Mobo for, $11 today for a 2600K. Plans to tinker with, do a legacy budget build. Awesome stuff, man. Shout out to that legacy hardware staying active and staying alive, man. It really warms my heart when we are able to repurpose legacy hardware. Love that Cliff called it legacy, because we here in this community, I try to recommend we avoid using terms like old and outdated and antique and things like that when it comes to discussing the relevancy of older hardware, in this case the 1151 socket and the 2600K. Those components may necessarily be a bit dated, but they're just legacy hardware, up to some extent still not necessarily obsolete, especially so long as that second generation Intel CPU has all the necessary extensions to support modern games, which it should. I'm off the top of my head, don't quote me on that, but it should. But awesome stuff, Cliff. Once we start up our members only live stream to come up, you're gonna have to come up and share these stories. We talked about it before, fam. We're gonna bring you up. We're gonna bring Cliff up, y'all. But all right, so without the way, gonna do some quick housekeeping, I promise, and we'll jump into the show. But this show is sponsored by the Inside the Lab merch shop, or our merch brand, Labwear. I'm wearing the mugshot shirt here that I wear to create content. It's a super helpful way to support the channel. Some of you have already bought merchandise, and I just want to give you a round of applause. I know you have, because I've seen the orders. But I just want to give you a round of applause for supporting the channel, and I recommend you keep doing so. But pick up some merch. We have t-shirts, stickers, hoodies, long sleeves, all different sorts of merchandise you can pick up over there that should be suitable, and I do plan to add more to it. But just wanted to bring some attention over to our merch before we jump into the conversation. Cliff says the 2600K with a tight overclock can still get down with a modest GPU. Absolutely. Maybe a Polaris 500 series Polaris based AMD card, like a 580 or even a 570 or somewhere along the lines, and probably a 9th generation NVIDIA GPU like a 960 or a 970, maybe even a 770, somewhere along the lines there, a 2 to 4 gigabyte variant GPU. But yeah, the overclock is, and I promise we're going to get into the meat and bones of the conversation, but that is where I find the most interest in overclocking, and that is overclocking legacy hardware, older CPUs. I use that term, but I use legacy first, but legacy hardware, legacy components, especially your CPU and your GPU, and maybe even some DDR3, because it's there that will introduce the most performance enhancing uh, FPS, if you will, with your overclocks, right? If you can take your, like the 2600K might have a boost clock up to 4 gigahertz or 3.9 gigahertz or 3.8 gigahertz. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but if you're able to add maybe another 500 megahertz on top of that, then you could squeeze even more performance, get that CPU just running a little bit faster, and that could also help avoid any potential bottlenecks should you want to put that 2600K with a faster GPU. But that's where I love finding hidden value, and that's in overclocking legacy components and legacy hardware. Once we do get back to our overclocking series, because I'm designing an overclocking series, it's super enthusiast and super niche. It's not for everybody, but I think what's most interesting is that gamble, that risk factor. Will he kill the CPU? Will he won't kill the CPU? Will it be stable at that speed? Can you dial in an overclock that's surpasses the expectations for that component for the CPU? That is where all the fun is in overclocking, in my honest opinion. And when we do it, when we get back to it here on the channel, that's some of the things you can expect overclocking legacy components like older GPUs and legacy CPUs. But all good stuff. Oh, okay, we got our first super, the super chat or a super sticker. I want to say that's a super. It don't matter. We're gonna give both. You all know when we get a super chat here in the community, we like to drop these super chat rap. Here it goes. I love Cliff's profile picture.
Thanks for the super chat. Now you got a super rap.
Let's do it one more time for that super sticker.
Thanks for the support, fam. Super sticker from the super fans.
Gotta love it. One more game.
Thanks for the
I
super
promise.
Chat. Now you got a super rap.
Thanks again for that super chat, Cliff with that $5, fam. Every amount matters. I don't care if it was $1. Every amount matters, and I thank you for the super chat, Cliff. Much appreciated, fam. It's good to get back on our normal live stream schedule. It's good. It feels good to get back to it. I said that's one of my biggest goals here is to get the live stream back on a consistent schedule. And I'm also tired of getting crap from toasted strudel transition toasted. Fam, if you out there and you just watching and listening, I see you and you right. Give a round of applause for Toasted for calling me out for having an inconsistent live stream schedule. Salute to you, fam. But we're working on getting back to it. All right. And speaking of, let's get into the meat and bones of the conversation. Again, thank goodness for time chapters, because they are going to come in handy for our replay viewers and even you who are here with us live. Again, I appreciate your live viewership, and our live shows are designed to be an engagement heavy event. Feel free to tune in and join the conversation at any time. But time chapters will help you as well if you have to leave the show and come back at a later time. But you wanted to find out what some of the the rest of the reasons. If you clocked out at number 5 and you want to know what the the other 8 are, then you can always just jump over to the time chapters, because I will list them after the live show concludes. So, speaking of those 13 reasons, let's jump right into it. And I also would like to add, if I leave out, a reason that you feel should be added to this list, it's not comprehensive, that you feel like should be added to this list, let us know over in the, make sure I point in the right direction. Let us know over in the chat. Tell me in the chat. And if you're a replay viewer, make sure I point, tell us down in the comment section below. There are no such thing as a wrong answer, or let alone a dumb one. Share your experience. Maybe there was an alternative reason why it even sparked your interest to get into PC gaming, or motivated you to make the transition. It's one of the things we evangelize here a lot in this community, and one thing we talk about, and that's converting as many gamers over to this platform, that is PC, over to this platform as possible. There's nothing wrong with consoles. Consoles have a purpose, but PCs have character. So there's much more in terms of value to gain when you are gaming and you're spending your primary gaming time on a PC. See, me, I fancy, or I divide my gaming time up between my PCs and my Nintendo Switch. I've had this conversation with Sparta Rules over on 1993, which, if you're not following me, please follow me over on Instagram at Inside the Lab YT. You can find in the description box below at any point you want to get more Inside the Lab content. Head down in the basement, what we call the basement. Quick shout out to Les. Les, it's good to see you. Les come in with the smiley face. Hello, Les. Les is the first time we've seen your name too. We got a lot of first time viewers. This happened last week. A lot of first time viewers. Do hit the like button for me on your way in or on your way out. I appreciate you coming in, supporting the channel, supporting the chat, supporting the show. Even if it's with the smiley face, man, smiley face right back at you. I drop a smiley face custom sticker, but I only have access to 4. That's why we need more channel members, y'all. We need more channel members. Let's go. Cliff says reason number 7, because Macs sucks. Macs are good for some things, probably not gaming. I don't use them. I used to when I developed PC games, when I developed indie games. Our primary creation, setup tool were Macs, but we went right back over to Windows when it came time to working in Unity. Unity is available on Mac, but it's a whole nother conversation. But that's actually a good reason. I mean, and that could be super related to Cliff's experience as getting into PC gaming. I seriously doubt it, but I'm going to go on a limb here and assume. But maybe Cliff was gamed on a Mac before he switched over to PC. Nah, let us know though, Cliff. It could be a good reason. Many people don't have many good things to say when it comes to gaming on a Mac. But Les, it's good to see you, Les. Let us know where you at in your PC enthusiast journey. You came in at the right time because we were just getting ready to segue into the title and opening here of episode number 60. So let us know, Les, but welcome to the show. All right, with that out the way, let's jump right into it, y'all. Let's jump right into it with today's title being 13 Reasons Why. 13 Reasons Why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer and to get into PC gaming. I have to add that because I want to talk to our vets. I want to talk to our rookies. I want to talk to those who are still straddling the fence, those who have been unable to get their other leg over and come over to better pastures. This live stream is indicative of such motivators that should prompt you to want to pull that other leg over and come over to being a PC gamer. So it's not just for those of us who are already gaming on a PC and we've been doing it for years now, for quite a while. Or maybe you just got into it last year. Hell, maybe you just got into it last month. I just helped a buddy of mine get his PC up and running here locally for the first time. And he's been texting me, periodically, just sharing in his excitement and thrill from making the transition over. It's been a long time coming for him. And I don't think he's here on the chat, but I'm going to give him an air horn. We are a little slight celebration for coming over to I would say the dark side, but that sounds so ominous. It sounds like we're the negative multiplier when it comes to gaming as a whole between console and PC. But that's not the case. But for coming over to the side and for becoming a PC gamer and just not being afraid to make the leap, right? Not being afraid to make the leap and get it done, because he actually built his PC. I only helped up to a certain extent, but he actually built his PC on his own, and it was without any help from me. Again, I only helped with getting his Windows installed and just any other issues he might have. Sorry, I just want to see if I can make a slight change in Streamlabs here, and it won't let me do it. Oh, here we go. Maybe it's because it's here. All right. No, we're not going to do that. And we're going to do that. Okay. All right. But yeah, so shout out to him. Salute to him for making his way over to this platform. And again, as we highlight 13 reasons why, now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. Now is the perfect time to get into PC gaming. Hopefully one of these reasons will prompt you to want to get started. Cliff says, new PC gaming air horn. Every time we get a new PC gamer, Gabe Newell gets a set of wings, right? Gabe Newell, in case for those who don't know, that's the founder of Steam, the go-to distribution platform when it comes to getting PC games and taking advantage of some things, but that's foreshadowing. That's foreshadowing. So let's get right back into it. But absolutely good stuff, Cliff. Good stuff. But from mods to a higher level of graphic detail to unlocked frame rates, one of the biggest reasons why gaming is a much better experience on the PC. We're going to talk about that again, a little bit of foreshadowing, but to unlock frame rates, if you're looking to take your gaming experience to the next level and you've been on the fence, that analogy again, and you've been on the fence and you needed a reason to get started, today we are going to run through 13 of them. Okay, here are 13 of them, 13 reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer or to get into PC gaming. That's right, 13, and we are saving the best one for last. So do be sure to stick around for it, because I really don't think most of you, any of you, won't see it coming. It'll be one of those things where you're like, oh, well, yeah, of course, Lab, sure. That could be one of the best reasons why. Oh, okay, yeah, I understand why you saved it for last. And if you can't stay, again, there will be time chapters. You'll be able to, fast forward and bounce around in between the video and in between core or key talking points throughout the duration of our show. It typically does tend to go on quite a while, but that's another long-standing goal of mine, and that's to narrow the content down, so long as the conversation though is going and value is being shared and distributed to our community and to viewers both live and replay. Then fam, the conversation is going to keep going. But we are saving the best reason for last, so do be sure to stick around for that. And if you're new here, welcome to the Inside the Lab weekly live experience. I'm Terrence, your conductor and host and operator here of this ride. And with that said and out the way, let's ready up, jump right into it. Get started on 13 reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. Switching back, I don't know why I switched over there. I just felt like I had to be big and prominent to make that statement. But we're going to start off with, we're going to jump right into it here with reason number one. Reason number one, again, feel free to commentate. Feel free to commentate on any of these reasons. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you say, you know what, Lab, I don't think that's a reason why PC game now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer, or now is the perfect time to get into PC gaming. Hell, you might even be a larger YouTuber with a much bigger audience than me, and you might even say, I don't agree with this guy. Oh, by all means, do hit me up. Let me know on here, Instagram, Twitter. Again, y'all should be following me anyway at Inside the Lab YT, so you can see all my daily shenanigans when I'm not live here in front of the camera. But we're going to start off with reason number one. And reason number one is games look better now more than they ever have. And that's because we've had a lot of features that have been introduced to us over the years since Hairworks with The Witcher 3 that has added the extra level of detail in our games and or how light behaves. Ray tracing, I'm looking at you. That's one of the biggest features. I'm trying to put my finger here within frame. That's one of the biggest features we've received as PC gamers at a hardware level that has changed the game, pun intended, quite literally, in how they actually look. We now have rooms that are completely dark when you walk into them, that aren't like that if you're saying outside of like a shack, or outside of a castle, or outside of like a dungeon or a house, right? Depending on the game you're playing. But now you have things like ray tracing that just adds to the dynamics of how light behaves within a game. Early on, sure, it was barely noticeable. Some games didn't implement them very well, or implement them good enough that necessitated that performance hit, because there was and still is a performance hit with turning ray tracing on. Now, thank goodness though, we have levels to it where, and even then the difference may be negligible, but even now we have levels to where you can run ray tracing at a medium, high, ultra level, or there's certain light sources in the game that will be ray traced and can be changed or altered dynamically. But we also have detailed and high resolution textures too, like never before seen. Like games, if you look at any modern game, right? From Dying Light 2 to even the most recent Modern Warfare 2, which I promise you, I'm going to download the beta because I want to do a pop-up live stream. I want to test the game, but I want to do it live with you all. And I think the PC, the all platform beta is over by September 26th. Hint, hint. So I could be running out of time, but we could use that moment to discuss a lot of the tech events that are going on in the tech world, from the RTX 4080, 4090 launch, and among other things with additional content updates. But we also have lush 3D environments with layers upon layers now of assets that are able to be drawn in much faster, textures that are able to be loaded in on 3D objects, moving ones that are like your character models and any AI, and of course your environment. We have detail, more detail now than ever in our games. I was having a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about how bad games used to look back in the day or in the past, right? Like how PS2 graphics weren't great, PS1 graphics weren't great. If all things considered, if we go back in time, right? Let me switch back here because this is important. If we go back in time, sure, to our standards, those graphics wouldn't get it done. Even the frame rate likely wouldn't get it done, as it would be somewhere between 10 to 15 FPS on a PS1 or PS2 game. But for that time, the graphics were adequate, right? They were deemed good enough. Can we say the same thing about some modern games now, say 10 years in the future? Some of them we could. There are games that released 10 years ago that still look good now if you run them on a PC. And this is why we started number one off with games look better now more than they ever have. But when you're doing it on a PC, you can still play older games that were released when the hardware that's available now obviously wasn't available. So you can do things like dial up the graphic settings. Textures will load in much faster. You have access to DDR4 memory now. Maybe when the game came out, DDR4, the platform hadn't existed yet. Maybe we were still on DDR3. But games look better more now than they ever have. Detailed environments. You look at a game like Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know how some of your experiences was with the game. Let me know if you liked it. But when I played Cyberpunk 2077, I was more so just blown away by the graphic presentation. To me, it felt like a glorified tech demo. And I did do a couple videos on it, especially with DLSS. Severely outdated, but you can give it a watch if you want to see DLSS in action. And even there's a new version of DLSS out, but you can also do a compare and contrast with that video. We'll revisit DLSS and its relevancy here in the upcoming months. But games look better now more than they ever have. Switch back here. Again, we have things like ray tracing and even God rays. God rays, it's a gimmick, but when you're playing a game like Assassin's Creed or like Resident Evil 7, and it really adds to the ambience and just the overall feeling of that level, and it really puts you deep into the shoes of the character. It makes you feel like you're in the environment, not you're playing through the environment, but it makes you feel like you are in the environment. So that's reason number one. We're going to knock them back here really fast, y'all, because it's not really fast, but it's 13 of them, and we're going to be here until tomorrow night if we run the show like we normally do. But that's reason number one, to reiterate, and that's, again, games look better now more than they ever have. We have new features, and we have access to hardware that's going to allow us to do things like dial up the games to make them look even more detailed, and to have the game run even smoother when we're trying to determine what's a good balance between graphics and refresh rate when it's pertaining to your specific experience as a PC gamer. Remember, it varies between all of us. Reason number two, which piggybacks off of reason number one, and that is games are easier to run now more than ever. The minimum requirements for even some of the most popular games can be ran, or the minimum requirements are based on legacy hardware that's a little bit more accessible, a little bit more attainable, but most importantly, more affordable. That's what's key there, with hardware that's a little bit more affordable. Okay, so in that sense, that makes games easier to run. Now you don't need a say XX80 base series NVIDIA graphics card, or even an XX70 base series graphics card, like a mid to high end tier graphics card, just to have a memorable gameplay experience. Like Cliff brought up picking up the 1151 socket motherboard to pair with the 2600K. I mean, those are legacy components, like a legacy socket, which can still maybe pick up a 2700K and i7 to get just a little bit more CPU horsepower for your setup. If you can find one on eBay, sure, you won't find one new. I strongly advise against buying one new, but if you have access to a vehicle and you can travel, you'd be surprised at some of the deals you can pick up with a lot of enthusiasts having some of these legacy components sitting in a closet collecting dust, fam. Sitting in a closet collecting dust, and now they're ready to say, get something for it. Something is better than nothing when it's just sitting around collecting dust. And again, that's what the majority of a lot of modern games. If you look at their minimum requirements, a lot of the minimum requirements can be had or can be achieved with legacy hardware. Could be achieved with say 400 or 500 series graphics cards. What it really depends on is the VRAM allotment. With if at 1080p, most of your graphics cards are going to have at least 2 gigabytes of VRAM. Even if you're running everything down to low settings, 1080p low settings, you're going to want a graphics card with at least 2 gigabytes of VRAM. Anything less than that, then 720p to maybe 900p low settings will really be your benchmark or will really be your target. It all depends on the type of games you want to play. But games now are easier to run now than they ever have been. Look at games like Minecraft and Roblox. Did I say it right? Roblox, that game. If you look at games like Minecraft, Roblox, even Fortnite, some of the in Destiny 2, just a lot of popular multiplayer or service-based games, they can be ran on another term I don't like using as much, but they can be ran on potato-esque like hardware setups or configurations. You don't really need beefy and especially newer components to play modern or even older PC games. Okay, games are easier to run now more than they ever have been. We have software or AI that's also running in the background of graphics cards, newer hardware, newer graphics cards, and even CPUs that are also improving the performance output of those components, that are improving the FPS output in your games, right? Going from say 30 to 40 FPS to 50 to 60. The difference is day and night. For those of you who have had the opportunity to upgrade your system, and it's an upgrade that's meaningful enough that presents new performance, and it adds to the experience. It adds to your gameplay, or enhances your gameplay experience. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm still getting the kinks out, y'all. I promise. I'm still getting the kinks out. But again, the majority of games, the minimum requirements can be achieved with legacy hardware. We attribute that to games being easier to run now more than they ever have. That's reason number 2 for our 13 reasons why. Picking up here, and actually again, you a lot of piggybacking here, but piggybacking off of reason number 2 with reason number 3, and that is because PC hardware is easily accessible now more than ever. So you have sites like PCPartPicker.com. I believe Newegg also has a component configurator, that can help you with your buying choices, or making sure you're buying compatible components, the right CPU with the right socket, right power supply unit with enough power pin connectors to power your graphics card of choice, or to even allow you to add another graphics card down the road should you want to. That's going from a graphics card that has a 6-pin power connector, for example, to where your power supply unit has support for up to an 8-pin EPS power connection. So there are sites that make purchasing PC hardware easier now more than ever. That hardware is also more accessible because we have websites like the Facebook Marketplace, like eBay, who's really blown up here in the last couple of years, and hardware and graphics card prices are starting to trickle on down there if that's something you're interested in. and you need help, let me know, or let us know here in the comment section or over on social media. But sites like eBay, sites like OfferUp, not so much OfferUp, a lot of scams over there. OG Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. PC hardware is easily accessible now more than it's ever been. You do not have to rely on brick and mortar stores. Previously, it was things like uh, Best Buy, really, and Circuit City. I want to say Circuit City for some of you, if you're familiar with or if you're over here on the East Coast. Circuit City was like a Best Buy. It was one of Best Buy's biggest competitors. When Best Buy first showed up, and Best Buy kind of took all the market share away from Circuit City. But that's not necessarily the case. You don't have to go to a micro center, although I recommend you go to a micro center, but you don't have to go to a micro center. There are other avenues for you to purchase hardware should you need it. Amazon being one of the biggest, most accessible places to pick up both new and old hardware. And Amazon also has a section to where you can buy renewed or you can buy used. So those are some things you can consider when you're like, well, maybe you want to divide the workload up. Like you don't want to get all your components from the same place, or you're really trying to capitalize and maximize on savings, and you want to take advantage of deals that's maybe that's on take advantage of deals that's on one website and not the other, or maybe you're buying a combination of both new and used components, so you want to get your new components from Amazon, but then you also want to consider picking up some alternative or legacy components to add to your system from other places, like the Facebook Marketplace. I keep going to the Facebook Marketplace because that is one of the best places to barter with tech enthusiasts. Most of the time, they are honest and upfront about the condition of the components they're selling. And then keep in mind that places like Facebook offer up too, but it's your last option. Like if you can verify without a shadow of a doubt that whatever the person is selling is actually what they're selling, then go for it. But caution away from offer up whenever possible. I've seen a lot of scams over there, and some items that shouldn't be selling the way they are, and most of the sellers over there are pretty set in stone and firm with their prices. But Facebook Marketplace, if it's trying to get in frame of the camera, Facebook Marketplace though, again, the go-to for trying to find places to pick up PC hardware, because again, reason number 3 was it's easily accessible more now than ever. You can find deals and sales on places. Even Newegg at times run sales and bundle deals too. It's easier now to pick up a CPU, motherboard, and a GPU than it's ever been, especially within the last 10 to 15 years. Okay. Cliff says, let's go to Micro Center. I'm down, right? Well, Micro Center gets the air horn, without a doubt. Micro Center gets the air horn. I'm down for a Micro Center trip any day of the week. In fact, I want to do another mobile stream there, but I did not like the quality of the forward-facing camera I was using, so I have to find another approach with that. But actually, I would love, and recommend as an enthusiast. It's a playground. You don't even have to buy anything, fam. You don't even have to buy anything. Just go. It's a heck of an experience, and one I can't describe. You just have to go there and experience it for yourself. WASD Moves, Brother Cliff says, Marketplace is also trade/barter. True. So yeah, you don't always have to be the buyer. Maybe you have legacy components, or maybe you had a system that it's past the point of to make any meaningful upgrades to it. Maybe you're at the highest CPU path that you could possibly go on that socket. You don't know how to sell, or you can't. Most places here in the States, there isn't a traditional retailer you can take your parts to and actually sell them to get anything significant for them. It's going to be like taking your used games to GameStop. That's something a lot of us experience as gamers, right? Especially me coming from consoles a while back. It's going to be a similar experience. You're going to sacrifice some of the value for a quick buck, if you will. But as Cliff mentioned, the marketplace, you can also trade. You can also say, hey, some sellers will say, I'm open to trades, or maybe they're looking for a specific component that you have to fill another bill. Let's say Cliff had that Z77 motherboard, 1151 socket motherboard, but not the 2600K. Maybe he picked the motherboard up for a cool $11, and he saw somebody on offer up and say, hey, I have this 2600K. I'll trade for 8 GB kit of DDR4 or a 16 GB kit of DDR4 and some cash, because that's, depending on the kit, might not be an even trade. But you never know. And it's one of those things where shop on the marketplace, especially if you are in that period of acquiring components. You've already weighed out the kind of games you want to play. You already decided on how you want to experience those games in terms of resolution and refresh rate. And you're now at a point to where you are acquiring your components. Check them Facebook Marketplace. Even if you're looking for a case, we know we've mentioned it quite a while now, quite a few times, that Sparta Rules 1993 picked up their case from I don't want to say it was the Facebook Marketplace. Sparta Rules, if you're still here with us, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you picked it up from the Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, one of the two, and he was able to get pick it up for a good deal. That new use excuse me. Man, sorry about that. That new use price to performance. That's what it's all about. That new use price to performance. Switching back here. All good stuff, y'all. Keep the conversation flowing. Keep the conversation flowing. We were discussing reason number 3 that now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer or get into PC gaming is that PC hardware is easily accessible now more than ever. Yes, you have to overcome the learning curve if you want to build it yourself. That's a necessary evil. But even if you don't want to, and you're working with, say, you're working with a builder, or you're working with a system integrator, somebody who builds systems to make a way of living. Myself, Cliff, Tricion. Where's brother Tricion at? I'm gonna give brother Tricion the horn, even though brother Tricion, I think, started school back up, so has other bigger fish to fry. But brother Tricion over there in the Netherlands also building systems to earn money and just help future PC gamers. Sparta Rules, thank you for clarifying. Sparta Rules says Facebook Marketplace for 60 bones. Boom, there you go. And that's the Fantex Evolve Shift Air. I believe it's the Shift Air. I always get it wrong, but it's the Shift Air. And he was able to save 50%. So that $60 difference most likely went to other areas of his build. And that boils down to, again, reason number 3, PC hardware is easily accessible, more now than ever. You can go onto the Facebook Marketplace and pick up a case, right? A case that checks off all the needs that you have, or the expectations you have out of a case. So long as it comes with all the hardware, there's no cracked glass or tempered glass, or all the input-output headers are still present on the case. Like, you ask all the necessary questions before sending that money over. Side note, you will have buyer protection and seller protection. It goes both ways when you're buying items on the Facebook Marketplace and they're being shipped. If you're meeting in person, that's a different beast. But one thing I recommend when it comes to components, if you can't visibly check to make sure all things are as they should, when it's components like your CPU and GPU and power supply unit, maybe even motherboard, try to get those components when you're at a point to where your system integrator or yourself, if you're doing it, can at least test to make sure those components work, because your buyer protection will run out if you wait too long. Let's say you buy it in December, but you can't test that motherboard out because you haven't picked up your CPU yet, or it's your graphics card or your power supply unit, because you waited 3 months or 4 months. And so now you've exhausted your buyer protection and you just won't have any. And now you're beat. You're disappointed, especially if you put it all together in the case and you didn't take lab's advice and build it outside of the case first to check to make sure all components are functioning as they should, especially when you are picking up used parts or used components. Super important to do so. And Cliff says, yeah, nice. Absolutely. I mean, that's a heck of a saving $60. That could go to 32 gigabytes instead of having 16. You can put that to, say, up in your RAM capacity to 32 gigabytes now. Or you went from only being able to afford a 500 gigabyte NVMe SSD to now you can afford a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. That's typically a jump from about $50 to $60 to from what I've recently noticed here, for NVMe storage, 1 terabyte is going to cost you a little over $100, depending on the manufacturer and the speed and its interface. If it's PCIe 4.0, if it's not, then that would likely shift just slightly north of $100. But $100 is a good median price for a 1 terabyte NVMe M.2, and that 500 gigabyte difference of storage means it means so much when you are adding to your library of games, and you can save time. So one of the things we talked about, and I guess you could say a side video or a sideshow. So one of the things we talk about when making time or taking the necessary steps to ensure that when you're ready to sit down and game, all you have to do is turn on your PC and sit down and game. Quick refresher, that's keeping your system up to date, drivers and your OS, and making sure all the games that you play on a regularly are also updated. If it's a game that's a service, especially because they typically come with lengthy updates, and games that are large and just large and assets or content like Dying Light 2 could also come with large patches and updates. If you don't have a lot of time, then in your spare time when you're maintaining your system, that's one of the checks you should be checking off, and that's making sure everything's updated. You don't have to wait. The only thing you're waiting for is the game to fire up and load. That's the only thing you're waiting for. But PC hardware is easily accessible now more than ever. That's reason number 3 out of 13 why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer, and we outlined all of those. Quick refresher: you can find hardware both new and used, because there are some people who would even sell used parts on the Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and etc. eBay, especially eBay. It's a little bit more, it's a little bit more common over there, seeing new components being sold. Although it's not coming from a retailer. Maybe the seller bought it for a system they abandoned, or they just say, you know what, I'm not going that route. It's very common. You may see 3600Xs or 5600Xs still sealed in a box, because likely they bought that CPU, they sat on it, they held it. Something new came along and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm not even going to use this CPU now. I'm rather just go with the next best option. So PC hardware is easily accessible now more than ever, with websites that are there to help you with your buying power, to help you get the most value for your money. It's what it's all about. So it's all about with being a consumer, at least especially a tech consumer, because PC hardware is not cheap. PC hardware is not cheap. So that takes us to reason number 4 out of 13 as to why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. And that's an oversaturated hardware market. We now have so many different CPU classes, from high end to low end to mid tier, that can get the job done. You have so many options to choose from. Most inexperienced builders and soon to be enthusiasts don't know where to get started. I believe this is where some of the confusion comes into play, because there are so many options. It's one of those it's one of those instances where you have too many choices, you don't know what to pick, versus having your choices being limited. Then you can make a more profound guess as to what's going to be the right option for you. But right now we have an oversaturated hardware market. We have graphics cards that are starting to come online now that we haven't seen in the last year, that are starting to trickle right on out. And there are options from 4 gigabyte variants to 6 gigabyte variants. We have 1660 Supers, GTX 1660 Supers, for crying out loud, going for $220. You're going to see here in a second, because I'm going to bring up a PC part picker build I did to outline one of the reasons why. But you have GTX 16 Super selling for $219. Now, does that necessarily mean it's not a better option than, say, a 6500 or a 6600 XT with 8 gigabytes? Does the 2 extra 8 gigabytes even mean anything for you as a gamer? Are you just looking to play 1080p 60 FPS and monitoring games? At that point, both of those cards are solid options for you, and probably will only come with about a $30 to $40 price difference. Right now, you have options, you have choices. Before the GPU tech demic, it was mostly over in the CPU department. But now with graphics cards and the industry as a whole starting to stabilize and normalize, that oversaturation is trickling over to that component now as well. You have options, even over on the Best Buy front. I checked while I was preparing for this live show. even on the Best Buy front, at least here locally, my Best Buy has GPUs that were not there about 6 months ago, 3 months ago on both NVIDIA, on both NVIDIA and AMD side. Same thing with Newegg and even Amazon. Amazon has 1660 Supers, RTX 3050s, RTX 3060s selling for $439 and $429. Yeah, that might sting a little bit, Sparta Rules 1993, because I know you paid a little bit more. You paid that premium we had talked about so many different times in other live shows. You paid that premium for picking up a graphics card during a time where they were scarce and hard to find. But that was a move that Sparta Rules thought was necessary for his experience as a PC gamer, and I stand totally by it. I bought graphics card too at the first round of the techdemic, not the one that came about during what we're experiencing now or what's wrapping up now. I'm not going to say the word. We all know what that is. We've been going through it for years. But prior to 2020, and I'm talking when I bought a GTX 1080 Ti for $1,099 USD, way more than I should have. I paid more than I should have for that graphics card, but it was a variant that I really, really wanted. No, it wasn't a Kingpin, but it was the Asus ROG Strix GTX 1080 Ti, one of my favorite AIB cards to own to this date. Even my 3090 is an Asus ROG Strix. I purposely waited for that one, and the one I did buy, I ended up sending it back because this one, my inside person told me that the Asus ROG Strix were in stock, so I sent that one back and got that one because I really like the Asus ROG brand. But the market is oversaturated now. You have so many different options to choose from. You really don't have to settle when it comes to picking up components that can suit your budget and will fulfill your needs. Again, that's a graphics card that may have less than 10 gigabytes of VRAM. Maybe you want to play your games at a higher setting or with a little bit more detailed. So 1080p is your targeted resolution, but for your graphic settings, you're more along the lines of somewhere between high to ultra settings. So you're going to want a graphics card that's not only modern and fast enough to keep up with those games and to render those frames right smooth and efficiently, but also to pack the detail onto those textures. And when you do that, you're going to need more VRAM. That also applies to when you're bumping your resolution up past 1080p. You can still be in a realm of 1440p low settings, and in my honest opinion, that's a graphics card that has at least 6 gigabytes of VRAM. A 980 Ti would be a great budget, a used card, if that was a resolution you wanted to dive into first, to where you say, Lab, I was able to get this 2560 by 1440p monitor at a huge deal, and I picked it up because I didn't want to miss out on this opportunity. The graphics card I want is just a little too expensive. I can't afford it, but I was able to pick up the equivalent, like a GTX 1660 Super or a 1660 Ti for under $200. Maybe it was on sale, or maybe you picked it up used. Maybe the previous owner upgraded to a 7000 RX 7000 series RDNA 2 GPU. Yes, they're coming. We're not going to talk about it at this moment, but yes, they are coming. They are coming. But right now, we have an oversaturated market. I say this as slightly opinionated. This is an opinionated statement, but from my observation and from scouring the used market from OfferUp, I keep saying OfferUp first. You could tell I have little OfferUp gets the air horn. OfferUp gets the air horn, but I have scoured the market, both new and used, both retailers and private sellers or sellers who operate eBay stores like I do. I don't promote it as much because it's not connected really to the channel, but you may run an eBay store and you have components that maybe was traded in, or a lot of times if I'm doing a service, person can't pay, then they say, hey, can I trade in can I trade in hardware to add to the balance to offset the cost or what have you? You never know. So you're able, and when you do that, when you're buying from a brand that you can trust, especially one on eBay, chances are most eBay sellers, I'm not speaking for them all, more so for Lab, for myself, for our eBay store. But when I'm reselling hardware, computer components as a technician, I know what to look for. I know how to clean up the component. I know how to get it in an orderly fashion that's both presentable and to make sure it's functioning as manufacturer advertised, right? As even the manufacturers advertise that it should. If it boosts up to 1120 megahertz, then it should be boosting up near or surpassing that amount. If it's thermal junction or it's TJ Maxx's 80C or 70 degrees C, it should not be surpassing that under gaming loads. Key is gaming loads. It should not be surpassing that under gaming loads, and even a stress test, it should still just hit that thermal mark, and the GPU should know to cool itself or to cool itself down, slow down. But when you're buying from somebody who is familiar with the process, say like if you were buying a system, that budget build that Cliff was discussing, talking about building that with the 2600K, maybe you're buying that. You can trust and know that as an enthusiast, he knows what to look for. He knows proper amount of thermal paste to apply on the CPU, proper cooling, the right graphics card to pair with it, power supply, all of those things. But when you're buying from, say, just a regular seller who just bought their system, took it to Micro Center, they swapped everything out, sent them along their way with their old parts. And now they're just like, yeah, I don't care. I didn't touch this stuff. I have no interest in cracking open the GPU and replacing the thermal paste if it is running a little hot, or at best, at least cleaning it and removing any built up dust or just grime or accumulation that could be any dust accumulation, because dust traps heat. The more dust you have in your system, the more conductive it becomes. You want to get that stuff out of get dust out of your system. So at the most, that from a seller that takes care and puts effort into cleaning their components, when it comes to eBay, some instances even Facebook Marketplace, pictures tell a hell of a story. And in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with asking for pictures. If a seller is hesitant or reluctant to provide additional pictures, chances are they have something to hide. We talked about that in previous live streams. But switching back and revisiting reason number 4, and that's again, we have an oversaturated hardware market. CPU options that are suitable for most budgets and entry-level graphics cards on the high and low end spectrum that are now affordable. We are coming out of the GPU techdemic, and that's another reason why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. RTX 30 series cards prices especially will continue to drop as we get closer to, say, your 4070 and your 4060 launches of the Ada Lovelace architecture that NVIDIA just announced. So that's reason number 4. Rocking and rolling, y'all. See, we're almost halfway there. I told y'all, and I know y'all can't wait to see what number 13 was or is that you're all saying. Lab said it's going to shock me, and I seriously doubt it, but I'm gonna stick around. And there's little hints sprinkled in between some of the reasons that we've gone over now and some of the ones coming up. So again, do be sure to stick around. And if you haven't yet, hit that like button for me. So if you have a few new viewers trickle in, hit the like button for me as you come in. And for my concurrent viewers, remind them to hit the like button too for me. Sometimes I forget. Remind them to hit the like button for me too as we transition over to reason number 5. And that is a saying that I came up here with myself, and that is all the new games but the same old hardware. Now you say, Lab, what exactly does that even mean? Well, for example, we're picking on consoles here a little bit in this segment. We're going to pick on consoles, but to my console gamers, do know I have nothing but respect and love for consoles. I'm an avid player on my Switch, love playing Nintendo games, but I'm an avid Switch player. Not so much the other ones, but consoles have a purpose, but PCs have character. That means that's going to go on a shirt. But when you think about this quote here, that all the new games but the same old hardware, it relates to the fact that PS4 games and even Xbox, OG Xbox, both those consoles will have some of the newer games launched on them. Madden 23, what have you. Keep telling them myself all the games I've been playing, right? But those consoles, like Cyberpunk 2077 is another example. Those consoles will have those games available to them day one, okay? But it's stuck on the same old hardware. So all the new games, same old hardware. But as one of the reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer, that's not the case. Why? Because let's state some of the obvious reasons. You can upgrade your PC to accommodate demanding games. So in the event when Cyberpunk 2077 came out, most higher end PC users, yes, still reported some frame rate issues and bugs and system crashes and poor optimization. But we had factors that we could deploy to help mitigate that, from lowering our graphics settings to upgrading our hardware. Although for Cyberpunk 2077, it may not have done much. That game seriously needed to be optimized at launch. But we can also add peripherals like multi-monitors to enhance the gameplay experience, something you cannot do on a console. And that's from releases like Microsoft Flight Simulator. Talked about that game too a while ago with a buddy of mine, just about how you can play that game on a console. But when you're able to play it on new hardware, when you're able to dial up the settings or run more than one monitor, it really adds to the immersion. And when I say immersion, I mean it really pulls you deep, and you can dive into the meat and bones. You can dive into the glory of, or all the glory that the game has to offer. You cannot do that. You cannot do that when it comes to running the new games or running new games on the same old hardware. You just can't. Past consoles haven't aged well. And if you think about it, the new consoles we just got, the PS5 and Xbox SX, okay, they are already 2 years old. 2 years old. Can you believe that? They released in 2020 at some point, like late Q3 2020. Early to late Q3, Q4 of 2020. And they're already 2 years old. That is like forever time in terms of PC hardware. And what's actually the specs that come along with the PS5 and the Xbox Series SX. 2 years old. Think about that. Think about how well your system, if it's more than 2 years old, how well it still runs games now compared to the PS5 and Xbox Series SX. Even the Xbox One and PS4, 9 years old, 10 years old. So imagine running Cyberpunk 2077 on 10-year-old PC hardware. You likely couldn't. And that is attributed to its minimum required specifications. But guess what you could do as a PC gamer? Make the necessary changes to be able to run Cyberpunk 2077 in a much better form. Can't do that with consoles. That's stating the obvious. And the newer ones, PS5, Series SX, they're already 2 years old. I'm gonna go on a limb here and project to say that we could see pro versions of the PS5 and the Xbox XX, possibly with RDNA 2, custom motherboard and CPU combinations, and even maybe custom APUs in general. But we could see RX 6000 RDNA 2s in a typical console upgrading road path. And that is, we'll get the base console and then like a pro or deluxe edition a few years down the road. It's behind right now, and it's taking a little while to get there. But those pro series, or those pro versions of the PS5 and Xbox Series X, would likely come with Zen 3 processors. So that's Ryzen 5000, custom CPUs based off of the Zen 3 architecture, and even custom GPUs based on the RDNA 2 architecture. That's RX 6000. Seriously doubt it would be based on the RX 7000, because, well, the AMD would want to offer those to the DIY market and DIY consumers first, and consoles typically get the hardware when it's nearly at the end of their life cycle. But they use console corporate magic that still makes those hardware configurations run games in a fidelity that's good enough to promote and sell consoles. But we could see PS5 and Xbox Series SX Pros here very soon, because they're already 2 years old, and that's forever high. Let alone costs are still high on next gen consoles, and still hard to come across in terms of retail. And we're getting close to the holiday season, maybe you have loved ones or you have children and they've been asking for these things, you gotta look it up. You're like, at PS5, Xbox Series X, whoa, you're like, it's still $800-900. it still costs a lot of money, or most importantly, you're having a hard time finding them. I checked again when I was researching the material for this live stream, and PS5, especially the higher end version, not the disc version, the the discless version, the disc version still hard to find, or you're paying over 800 for it. And the same thing applies to the Series X, right? The Series S digital version, yeah, you can pick up and find, not a bad console. But if you're in the market for those, consider a system similar to this one here that I configured. We're going to run by here really fast. I just want to say that what's up, or just want to say what's up to Thunder. Thunder says, "Hey, what's happening?" LT Thunder is in the house with the new AV Pro Avacon. Man, Sparta Rules has one. Clip. Everybody got new profile pictures. I'm just Mrs. Mod. Everybody got new profile pictures. I would say Les, but I've never seen. This is the first time I've seen Les, so I don't know if this is regular. But some of y'all change your profile pictures on me, and mine is still the same plain Jane one, but it's still this here. Well, it's still this here, but a console is cheaper, but a cheaper PC is just as better. So consider, if you're in the market for a PS5 and you're like, you know what, I want to pay $800 to $900 for a PS5. I don't mind paying over that amount. Consider building a system very similar to this one here. Not going to go into too much detail about it because it speaks for itself, and I will post this PC part picker list link in the comment section should you want to possibly build a system similar to this, or you want to shop for parts that are similar to the one outlined in this build. I will leave that link in the description box below. But consider a 12th generation i5, a B660M motherboard, 16 gigabytes of G.Skill memory, 1 terabyte in the NVMe M.2, again selling for $96.95. That's from this seller here. I never really bought from them, but this price is likely the same over on Amazon. Amazon typically runs their own deals, so you could also find it even cheaper. And the glory, or I guess you could say the highlight of this build, and that's its GPUs, the FXX Radeon RX 6600, 8 gigabyte, and the Fantex Eclipse P300A. I say Cliff is going to love this case because he keeps picking on me for picking. I keep catching static for choosing Cooler Master cases. I'm slightly biased to Cooler Master. I like their gunmetal gray, but Fantex makes great cases too. And you don't have to go with this case. You might, again, find, like Sparta Rules picked up a Fantex case for $10 cheaper that was in a really good condition. I know because I've spent a lot of time with it. You can watch those videos on our most recent playlist to give those a nice bump in the algo. But you can pick up a case similar or less than this, or more if that's something you were interested in putting more of your budget into. It doesn't have to be this case. It doesn't have to be this graphics card. If you know, I don't need 8 gigabytes. I really just want to play games like Minecraft and Roblox. Maybe I want to record some gameplay. I'm not interested in detail. I'm more so interested in FPS. So in that case, your CPU would be your, a stronger factor to achieving that FPS output. But one of the biggest positives to this system is not only its price, which comes in at just a little over $800, but its future potential, right? Like, this motherboard will have support for 13th generation Raptor Lake, so you are still within a strong upgrade path, all the way up to even a 12900. Right? Even all the way up to a 12900, should you want faster CPU computation, or you want more cores, or you want stronger cores and higher boost clock frequencies. On top of that, if you want to upgrade to the next generation of Intel CPUs, you're likely a BIOS update away on this gigabyte board, and you're good to go. Sell your i5 your 12th generation i5 for maybe about $100 or $90. You say, man, that's significantly less than I pay for it, right, fam? But that's just because you've already exhausted all of the value out of this component. Now it's time to pass that value down onto the next seller, because you're looking to gain something in return as well. You're looking to upgrade your CPU to something faster, while the next person might be on an i3, a 12th generation i3, and they say, hey, I can upgrade to an i5 for half the cost of that CPU when it was at launch. super savings that they could themselves put to, say, 2x in their 2x in their memory capacity. Being able to assure that, yeah, I can go with at least a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, or if it's a standard SSD, you can still bump up to 1 terabyte. It might cost you, I want to say it's about the same. It's about $80, about $20 cheaper than going with the NVMe. But depending on your memory, your PCIe interface, going with a 4th generation M.2 could likely be the best bet and the best value for your money. You won't even experience load times. Your system will boot so fast, you'll never want to go back again. Like, you'll never want to switch to you never want to go back to like a standard SSD, and especially a standard hard drive. As Cliff says, i3 homies in the house. Whoop, whoop. For real. I said it, I believe, in the last build, the last configuration video live show we did. I said i3s, i3s are right back into the conversation. They're right back in the conversation. Do not sleep on the moniker, I guess, if you will, the bad stigma that i3s typically came from before. We say, hey, you can't game on an i3. Not the case now, especially with 10th generation on up. At least 10th generation, at least 10th generation on up. But if you're looking to buy a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, like you're looking for a higher end console for a higher end gameplay experience, consider configuring a build similar to this one, or having someone build it for you. You're going to get a much better experience versus picking up that PS5, which again is running on 2-year-old hardware. It's already outdated. You can pick up a modern system and you'll be good to go. And this system again will have upgrade potential to where you'd have enough, you'll have enough power, you'd have enough wattage over in your PSU to even upgrade to, say, a 6700 XT. Maybe you want more VRAM. Maybe you're interested in 4K gaming, like I've been trying to necessitate here recently. Maybe you're into 4K gaming, or maybe you want to game at 1440p max to high settings. Maybe you saw The Witcher 3 in Micro Center running at 1440p max settings. You're just like, wow. That was me when I saw The Witcher 3 at 3440 by 1440p, and I was like, wow, I want a 1440p monitor. Like, I want an ultra wide monitor. And at that time I was gaming at 4K. But then I switched to the 21:9 aspect ratio, and I really, really prefer not to go back once I'm able to transition from the makeshift to a permanent studio and go back to my core setup or my core configuration. And again, it doesn't have to be this case. Maybe you see a cheaper alternative. Maybe you see somebody on the marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, selling a case that looks similar to this, and you did your homework and your research, and your motherboard will fit, and your GPU will fit. And it has everything else that you're looking for in a case. Most importantly, cost. It doesn't necessarily have to be this one that comes from Newegg. You might be able to get this amount here down even further by blending new and used price to performance versus going straight out right with a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or S. The S is slightly, cost less, but still, what you buy is what you get. And of course, you have the ability to upgrade, all the other benefits that we typically discuss here on this channel with going with the system like this one versus actually just buying a console or even overspending for a console. Just 6 months ago, PS5s were selling for over $1,000. It definitely wasn't worth it. The GPU techdemic was still going on strong, so you couldn't build a PC alternative at the time, but you were able to, but you're able to do that now. Couldn't do it then, but you're able to do it now. This graphics card didn't exist during the techdemic, and if it did, likely would have probably cost 2.5 times this amount here. I like to think we would have saw 6600 going for at least 620, 650 at the time, and it just would have destroyed any value that it had to offer. So consider building a system like similar to this one. If you're here and you're watching on the replay and you're interested in a system like this one, or what the performance expectations could be, the type of games it can run and what you can do, hit me up over on Instagram and or Twitter, and I would love to help you get started on that transition. But going back here to our reasons, and we were on reason number 5, and that was all the new games, but the same old hardware. Goes back to what we were talking about, that past consoles haven't aged well. We're getting newer games, but when it comes to hardware on the PS4 and Xbox One, they're just severely lacking. New games will likely continue. I'm not sure how much longer we're going to see that, but new games will continue to release over there so long as the life expectancy is relevant enough to publish games on there. But at what cost? Typically, that's performance. So again, a console is cheaper, but a cheaper PC is better. Consider building that i5 12th generation i5 build that I just highlighted, and I will leave the link in the description box below. But switching over to learning or reason number 6. And I was going to say, hopefully you're getting enough value out of this conversation. If you haven't yet, hit the like button for me. And as Mrs. Ma dropped in the chat, salute to her for that. Subscribe if you haven't yet. A lot of you aren't subscribed that are regular viewers, and by regular I mean not those whose names I recognize, but those who just come in, and I obviously get more views. I get more views on videos than concurrent viewers. So a lot of you just aren't subscribed and getting notified of the content. That's no shame or fault of your own. That's just the necessary beast, or the beast of the platform. But bouncing over from reason number 5 to reason number 6, and that is we have more control over our games or your games than ever before. You have more controls, more graphic settings. Most games, especially modern ones, as soon as they roll out, the setting menu is, if anything, overstimulating. And it could be intimidating for newbies or newcomers over into the platform. If you're like me, the setting menu is one of the first places I go to. Rather I'm benchmarking subjectively or objectively my own hardware or content, hardware for content, or if I just finished someone's build, going right into the settings menu is the first place I go to. I don't play the game. I don't watch the cinematic trailer. I'll jump directly to the settings menu so I can see how much access do I have to how this game looks. There are some things you can change that will have an impact on how the game feels. Sure, you can cap your frame rates or turn off VSync, which you should, and turn on G-Sync if you have a G-Sync compatible monitor. But there are settings that both can enhance the way the game looks and enhance the way the game feels. And depending on your hardware configuration, this will give you more control over said game. You will have access to all areas of the game settings, from foliage to water quality to how hair bounces off on a character's shoulders, to the level of detail in the terrain. If it's going to have a lot of hills and just a lot of dips, you can change the field of view, or you can change the view distance to limit objects just popping in. These all are graphic settings that we previously would not have seen on legacy hardware. And now here in 2022, I almost said 2020. God, I don't want to go backwards, y'all. I'm not trying to get back to where we were during the tech-demic, but here in 2022, we now have access to games, we have more control over our games, more now than we've ever had before. We're able to change and modify so much in a game that, yes, it can be overwhelming and overstimulating, or we change things and it has a maladaptive effect on how the game is presented. So if your hardware isn't necessarily competent enough to accommodate those settings, then it's going to have a negative impact on your experience, because your FPS could possibly tank if you're not careful. But that's just one of the perks and the pros to being a PC gamer, is just having that choice. Do you want your models to have higher level of detail, right? Or do you want your environment to be better detailed? Maybe you appreciate the detail in the environment more than you do the character models. It really depends on you, the gamer, and how you want to experience that game. But here in 2022, we have more control over our games than we've ever had before. We also have settings that could boost FPS should we wanted to, and in different intervals. And that's WASD Move's favorite gimmick, and that's DLSS over on NVIDIA's side, or Fidelity FSX-R over on AMD side. I always get that confused. I gotta get myself there, everyone fan. But both have AI-based applications and software that are running in the background that could boost your FPS with taking a hit in visuals. Before, DLSS was not great, and I have not tested or revisited DLSS because it really hasn't been adopted as much. Only game that I've seen where it has a huge impact or a huge boost, and that's Call of Duty Warzone. Call of Duty Warzone, you turn DLSS on, and you can get about a 20 to 30% FPS boost. And depending on where you are on the map and your other graphic settings, there isn't really a significant hit or visual impact on the level of detail and textures in your game. So if you have Warzone, it's free to play. It's free to play, and you have access to either one of those features, DLSS or Fidelity FSX. Then turn it on and see if you are able to have any, to see if you're able to notice a difference in visual quality. Cliff says, I've had a few new PC gamers say one thing they love once they moved over was the community was so welcoming and helpful, and they felt like they were a part of PC gaming as a whole, not divided. God darn, man. Salute to that. David Cliff says console gaming can be between platforms. That's true. If I'm understanding that statement, consoles now support cross-platform play. In my opinion, I think it really boils down to the game. But there is cross-platform support where you can, your Xbox buddies can play with your PS5 buddies and your PC buddies. But us as PC gamers, we have a benefit, and that's being able to do things like decide our graphic settings. Do we want to sacrifice some areas to get a higher FPS output? And by some areas, I mean some graphic areas. If you're playing GTA 5, for example, maybe you don't need all your graphic settings turned up. Maybe you want a fast and fluid experience. You can find a good balance between both graphics and refresh rate. Graphic detail and refresh rate, or not refresh rate, I'm sorry, FPS, the FPS output. You can find a healthy balance between the two. But I do want to say what Cliff's, put that in your back pocket, y'all. What Cliff said there. I'm going to repeat his comment. He said, I've had a few new PC gamers say one thing they love once they move over was the community. Hint, hint. That's all I'm going to say about that, in the words of Forrest Gump. But yeah, put that in your back pocket. But number 6, we have more control over our games than ever before. It's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of these are cut and dry. Don't need to spend a lot of time elaborating on them. But when you first fire up a game, depending on your setup, if it's not as competent, if it's not as high end, and you do need to make some sacrifices, it's easier now more than ever to find the right graphic settings to turn off, turn down, to get a higher FPS output. And it's much more common now than it's ever been before. This is more so on a game side. We didn't have access to these settings because we were still hardware limited. So there were some things we just could not change. We could not change how hair flowed and behaved as our character model moved, or as the player character walked. We could not change if, the intensity of how wind blows on grass or trees, which I'm looking at you. If you speak on the subject of Rockstar games, if you've played Red Dead Redemption 2, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the first ones that come to mind. Is one of the first games that come to mind, because there are so many graphic settings you can switch off. Like, can I get a witness? You play Resident Evil. Resident Evil's great too. But if you've played Red Dead Redemption 2 and you've seen the graphic settings, or I typically try to show the graphic settings I benchmark at when I'm testing, depending on the value, the targeted value I'm trying to illustrate. I will typically add the settings, but give it a look, see if you haven't yet. There are so many different areas of the game you have access to and that you can change that could either enhance or stabilize your experience, that it's ridiculous. GTA 5 is another one, another Rockstar game. Then you have some that are super limited, like Resident Evil 8 Village. Excuse me, not a lot you can change there. Cyberpunk 2077, there is a lot. excuse me, a lot you can change there that can stabilize your experience or enhance it. That's one of the pros, fam. That's one of the pros, and one of the reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. You can literally choose and decide how you want that game to feel and how you want that game to run, and we owe that to having more access or having more control over our games than ever before. And that starts with being able to jump into the in-game settings and switch off or turn down options that weren't present or weren't there 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. Cliff says, yeah, like 40 plus something settings, right? Though, referring to Red Dead Redemption 2, it's a lot. It's overstimulating, even for myself. Like, if you wanted to, you could spend an hour plus or more going into the game, going to an area of the map that you really would want to see, either in a high fidelity or a medium fidelity, depending on your, your hardware. If you're hardware limited, if you're not, say if you're on a graphics card that's 10 gigabytes plus or 8 gigabytes plus and you're at 1080p, then you have a wide range of options you can choose from that's going to keep you at a targeted 50 to 60 FPS output. But anything less than that, you may need to make some changes and some accommodations, turn some things down and turn some things off. But we have more control over those settings now than we've ever had before. And we owe that to the modernization of games and hardware becoming more accessible. All the previous reasons we walked through before. And Cliff says, and we're getting PlayStation, Xbox games. Now stop it, Cliff. Stop. Cliff just gave y'all like 3 reasons and I haven't even got to them yet. But so true. So true. And I tell you what, let's jump over here. And it's so funny Cliff said that, y'all, because we're going to jump right in here to reason number 7. And that is popular console exclusives are coming over to the PC. And Cliff just said that we're getting PlayStation and Xbox games now. We've had the benefit of Xbox exclusive thanks to the all Xbox games coming over to the PC with their, man, I'm having a brain freeze moment, but their subscription model where you can play Xbox games. I use it and I can't even think of it. I only really use it for Microsoft exclusives, your Halos, your Bethesda games now, Starfield that I'm looking forward to playing day one. But I mean, a lot of the popular console exclusives are coming over to PC. So we are seeing, or we've seen an influx. This is more so pertaining to PS4 or Sony exclusives, but we've seen an influx of Sony exclusives make their way over to the PC, over to the platform, albeit significantly later than its home console. But that's another story. Excuse me. That's another mini rant. I've long been saying, Sony, where in the HE double is your launcher? Develop a launcher, make it fluid, make it less intrusive when it's running in the background, limit the amount of additional launchers you may need to play games, just narrow it down. You can still offer them on Epic Game Store, sure. Sony needs a dedicated launcher so we can play exclusives on day one. It's barbaric now to have a retail approach similar to Sony's, where in order to play our exclusives, you have to buy our consoles. Now, it could sound a little bit hypocritical because I mentioned earlier that I love playing my Nintendo Switch. I think the Nintendo Switch is a different mobile console within itself that has that dynamic where you can play in your living room or you can play on a go. Sure, the portable Steam Deck is going to compete with Nintendo in that space, but what gives Nintendo relevancy are Nintendo exclusives, right? Are Nintendo exclusives. Will they come over to the PC? I really can't tell you. Obviously, PCs could run their games. Yeah, they may be Nintendo exclusives, but they're still developed on PCs. All the Pokemon games are developed using Unity. That's done either on a PC or a Mac. So if you can develop the game on the OS and platform, it could run because you have to test the game on there first and then use your dev kit to test it on its home console, which is being tested under its custom, the Nintendo OS. I don't know what it's called. NOS? I don't think it's called NOS, but fam, that'd be so dope if it was called NOS, like the Nintendo OS and it's called NOS. But Yeah, Sony needs its own launcher. Sony needs its own launcher so we can play Sony exclusives day one when they launch. Not all good and freaking down the road when everybody done played them and YouTubers have created buttloads of content out of them, and you release God of War 1 when when God of War Ragnarok trailer dropped, and you put it on the consoles, and then we got Days Gone a little bit down the road, and Detroit Become Human I think was one of the first ones to trickle on over. And the list goes on and on. That's just a few I can think of on the top of my head. But I originally considered myself more of a fan of Sony as a console when I was console heavy back in the day, aging myself back in the day. But I consider myself more of a Sony user because I liked the Sony exclusives. But now that's not enough to persuade me to buy a console just to play their games. That really doesn't make sense. And where we are now in modern gaming, it's an outdated practice that really should disappear. Sony could still, make a profit from their exclusives, only their exclusives selling over on PC. I don't think it would cannibalize their PC consumers or their PlayStation consumers, because there might be some gamers who just aren't interested in building a PC or gaming on a PC in general, and they much rather would prefer the luxury and ease of usability that consoles typically have to offer, not getting into the woes of being a PC enthusiast or a PC gamer. But leave that option to us who do want to make that leap, who don't mind tinkering, who have saved up, and we've got the coin to build a modest system that can run these exclusives that Sony is holding back from us. But one of the reasons, number seven out of 13 reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer is, again, popular consoles are making their way over to PCs. As Cliff had mentioned in the chat here before I was able to get to it, with another one or another two, I want to say. We're just getting a lot of Sony exclusives over there now. We've had Microsoft exclusives for a while. Kudos, Microsoft gets the air horn and a slight round of applause. Not a long one because Microsoft ain't paid your boy to big up them yet, so they ain't get a half a round of applause. But they at least get that for not forcing us to buy Xboxes when they are the distributors of the OS that we all love to use, Windows. It didn't make sense very long for them to hold back exclusives for us. If it can run on the Xbox, it can run on the PC, fam. Please don't force us to buy consoles for games. Don't do it. Sony, give it the times. Stop forcing us to buy consoles for games. Okay? It's an outdated practice. It's getting old. Cliff says you could use a Switch emulator, but you ain't heard that from me. Shoulder shrugs. Yeah, there are workarounds. Absolutely. I talked to Sparta Rules 1993 about this, about an upcoming content segment we're going to do. I talked to Sparta Rules about this. There are workarounds, sure. Most of us aren't willing to go that far, but there are emulators you can go around, workarounds you could deploy to mitigate that. One of the biggest reasons I like the Switch, though, is portability. If I'm on the go, or if I'm sitting somewhere where I have to sit and I have no choice but to sit, or if I'm just out and about, I can pull out my Switch or just bring it with me and just kill time. Just, playing Pokemon. I mostly just play Pokemon as I'm still story focused when it comes to my games. But Cliff says, I've seen the deck running Switch games through user. If you own a legitimate copy on Switch, I don't condone piracy. Yeah, I don't either, but, to each their own. And if that's the karma you're willing to gamble and take a risk with, then go for it. But there are workarounds for it, and I believe Sparta Rules was telling me that same thing about Switch games. There are emulators where you can run Switch games on a Steam Deck. And I looked it up on YouTube, and I saw one YouTuber made a video on, and I just say that I didn't watch it at the time. I'd rather test it for myself. If there is a way, I'd rather work through the motions and test it myself. More importantly, on the Steam Deck, because again, the Nintendo Switch as a console, one of its biggest pros is that it's portability. It's the ability to take it wherever and just game right there in a car, or maybe you ride public transportation. That's your commute, or maybe you take a cab or an Uber or a Lyft, what have you. And you have 15-20 minutes in the car. Sure, you can't bust out The Witcher 3 unless you have a Steam Deck, or Dying Light 2 or Escape from Tarkov, unless you have a Steam Deck. But you could still get some quality gaming and some quality high-end gaming with modern games by busting out your Nintendo Switch. But most importantly, with reason number 7, all of the popular Sony exclusives are slowly making their way, and they're coming over to PC. We're seeing this more and more. It's becoming more and more evident. We just need Sony to release them day one. Fam, at least 60 days, 30 days. 60 days too long. 30 days. At a minimum, at least 30 days. So if there are gamers out there who are on the fence and they really want to play that Sony exclusive, they really want to play God of War Ragnarok, give them that 30-day window to be like, you know what? All right, yeah, I'm either going to buy a PS5 or I'm going to pick up a PS4, because you can pick up a PS4 Pro on the used market somewhere between $250 to $350, and an OG Xbox if you're like really tight, cash strapped, and you just want to play some games. Maybe you're just becoming a young adult. Maybe you just hit 18, 19, and you have some disposable income. And now you weren't able to have that luxury as a minor, but now you have disposable income and you want to pick up a console, right? Maybe a PS4 Pro. Maybe you had a PS4, you're like, I need something just a little better. I can't necessarily afford a PC, although in that $400 to $500 range, you could build a system starting with the GTX 1660 Super at $219 or $220, and slowly find other workarounds to continue to enhance that system, an opportunity you wouldn't have on a PS4 Pro anyway. So if you have to start out with 8 gigabytes of RAM, wouldn't recommend it. 16 should be the norm. But if you have to start out at 8 gigabytes, go for it. You can always drop another stick of RAM in there down the road. If you have to start out with a 500 gigabyte SSD to curb costs, go for it. You can always add to it down the road. Something you can do with a console, but it's a little more straightforward over on the PC. And the same thing goes to wanting to upgrade any performance enhancing components like your CPU and again your GPU. You have that option, an option you wouldn't have by picking up a $400 to $500 PS4 Pro or an Xbox X Pro. I can't remember the name of it, but you all know that one. I had it too, but that's how long I've been out of the console talk. Don't get me started. We're not talking consoles here. We're just talking their exclusives and how all the good ones, especially the Sony ones, mostly the Sony ones, are coming over to the PC. So you no longer have to feel like you're missing out like I have been. Feel like I'm missing out on all the good exclusives because I just refuse to straight up buy a PS5 or PS4 Pro to pay exclusives. And one of the biggest ones, I can't believe I left it out. It's in our background presentation here. The Spider-Man PC Remastered. It's in the GD title of the game. Spider-Man PC Remastered. That's a game that I kept hearing about. Everybody was talking about how great it was. Let me switch back here really quick. Everybody was talking about how great it was. It just in terms of its graphics and its gameplay mechanics and swinging, how Spider-Man swung through New York City, the fight scenes, the action sequences, all the things. The game did all of the things right, and then it came over to PC, a path that a lot of us really didn't foresee coming. It was in the rumor mill for a while, and I don't report on rumors, but when I did see it, I said, "Wow, this is a game I'm looking forward to playing, creating content if it stays relevant." And you can do things like there's been some really cool mods available for Spider-Man PC Remastered. That's an area I would like to dive down and explore as well. And that's the performance impact or the performance hit that mods introduce when they are installed on games like Spider-Man PC Remastered. Getting caught up in the chat here really fast before we bounce back over to reason number 8, as we are on reason number 7. This clip says, Breath of the Wild at 8K with reshade, chef's kiss. Absolutely. And Breath of the Wild, I played it. Like, you know how in Walmart you can test out Nintendo games. I played it. It looks good. I understand the allure and the appreciation of the game. It's just not for me. Much like Horizon Forbidden Dawn and West, Dawn, not West, another Sony exclusive that surprisingly made its way over to the PC. And fam, it looks good. It looks fantastic. It looks great. I wouldn't play it, but I have tested it just to look at it and experience it. but it looks better on PC, it runs better on PC. Is that not the case in story for the majority of the exclusives that come this way? More than likely, yes, it is. But Breath of the Wild AK with Reshade, I'm pretty sure there's YouTubers who've done videos. Give it a look-see up. Don't do it now because y'all experiencing the live experience, inside the lab live experience. Don't do it now, but if that's something you're interested in, like Breath of the Wild or and even other Nintendo games being ran on PC or at a resolution like 8K, give it a look-see up on YouTube. You'd be surprised, even with it being compressed on YouTube and obviously being limited to 4K because there's no 8K playback on YouTube. I don't think. Don't quote me on that. But even still, as a compressed video, you would still be able to appreciate the level of detail that game would present at 8K. And Cliff says Tim, if I'm looking at that correctly, Tim is a great PC Pokemon style game. Lab, it's pretty awesome. Drop in, drop out co-op, awesome graphics, battles, etc. Okay, Tim, I'll look it up. I'm actually gonna have my daughter, if she's watching, if you're watching, daughter, look it up. But she's been playing, I believe it's like a Pokemon style Roblox game as of recently. So that's maybe something her and I can play. Anybody else that's watching, it's in the clan. Tim, all good stuff. Thanks for sharing that with us, Cliff. But we were on reason number 7 out of 13. And 7 was popular console exclusives are coming over to PC. No reason to wait and buy consoles for games anymore. They are coming. You just got to be a little patient. And more than likely, there are enough options to get you through until they all slowly start to make their way over to the platform. So no rush. Don't feel like you have to go out and buy a PS5 just to play Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man, or God of War Ragnarok. Buy the first God of War. Play Days Gone. There are so many options you can play that will satisfy that gaming urge, that gaming that gaming need, if you will, that can hold you over until they are out and they make their way over to the platform. Cliff says Tim is awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna look it up after the live stream. I have to do the timestamps. I have to do a lot after the live stream, but I will look it up this weekend. I'll check it out. But thanks for sharing, Cliff. We're segue into number 8, which is super relevant and still relevant to the overall conversation and the previous reason as to why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer and to get into PC gaming. And that is no online fee for multiplayer. It's not as often talked about, but essentially there's no cost associated with playing online on a PC. You download the game, and unless the game has a paywall, you can just play Apex Legends. You can jump in. You can play Call of Duty Warzone. You can play Fortnite. You can any of the other freebies that I failed to mention. If they're free on Steam and it's a multiplayer game, if it's free on the Epic Store, if it's free on Battle.net. Well, I think Battle.net was sunsetted. Don't quote me on that either. Don't quote me on a lot of stuff. Like, get your facts straight, lab. Get your facts straight. But there's no online fee for multiplayer on PC. Some of the most popular games are games as a service or multiplayer games, especially on our platform, especially on the PC. Some of the games, most of us we talk to other users who want to make the switch. Most of the games they want to play, I mean, they may branch off and play graphically demanding games. Here I go, The Witcher 3. There I go, using The Witcher 3 as an example. They may want to play games like that, but typically they start off by very niche focused games. Minecraft. You can play online with friends over on the PC. Yes, you need to buy the game, but you can play online with friends. Destiny 2, right? Which is free on the Xbox Game Pass or PC Game Pass, Microsoft PC Game Pass. Or it's Warzone. Again, a popular game like Warzone. There is no online fee attributed to wanting to play multiplayer games on both PlayStation and the Xbox. Both will run you $9.99 a month or $10 USD, which equates to about $60 a year. Let's say you have both consoles and you're paying $20 a month. That's $120 a year. But if you can maybe 3 or 4x that and you have a PC, that's a worthy upgrade to your setup. And I say just not your PC, but your whole entire setup. That's a better monitor, maybe an additional monitor, better speaker or a sound system. Maybe you want a microphone or, a wireless gaming headset. Maybe there's a game you really want to buy versus paying just, there are other benefits with PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live, but what you want out of it, you will have to pay. And that's to play games online, you have to pay a multiplayer. You have to pay a fee. You have to pay an online fee, essentially. That's why reason number 8, why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer, is games as a service are becoming more and more popular. If you're interested in creating content, there's some of the best games to create content for. And if you do it over on PC, there's no online fee associated with that. You just jump right in to start playing. No, you're gonna have to pay over on Team PlayStation and Team Xbox, Team Blue and Team Green. We almost got that with PC hardware for Intel and Nvidia, but whatever. Cliff says that's such a scam. 90% on console games are peer-to-peer connections and interactions. Absolutely. I had this conversation, a buddy of mine. We were just talking about this because I knew him when I was young and as my adolescence, as a teenager, and we were just talking about the difference between gaming socially. We had to do it at a time when internet bandwidth wasn't as prominent as it is now. We had to play in person. We all had to get together. We had to walk to each other's houses. We had to bum rides for our parents, or here in the state I grew up in, we had to take public transportation. It was called the DART bus. So you had to take the DART bus just to get to a friend's house to play them in Madden, or to play them in Live or 2K, to play Mortal Kombat, to play Super Smash, to play, all the games, some of the games that are still being played now, to play GoldenEye, if you will. We had to meet in person to do that. It was all about the peer-to-peer interaction, the peer-to-peer connection. Now Sony and Microsoft have put that behind a paywall. It's a tough pill to swallow. Quite literally, it just made me have to, gulp. It's a tough pill to swallow when we have to pay for, in some cases, most cases, because for whatever reason, with cross-play being more attainable and being more prominent now, you don't necessarily need both consoles unless you really want to play Sony exclusives, but then you want to play everything else on your Xbox. Same games you could play on a PC, you could play on Xbox. Not the case necessarily with Sony, at least not yet. Again, last reason was console exclusives like over on Sony are releasing more over on the PC, so that's becoming less and less of an issue, or less and less of a reason to pick up a console. Hold out. Could be worth it. There's dozens of games you could play that would present a quality gaming experience similar to what you're looking for in said console exclusives, like God of War or Days Gone is over there. I'm saying games that are already over there, but again, some of the most popular ones over from Sony are now over on the PC as a platform. On top of that, now with reason number 8, being a PC gamer, there is no online fee. There is no extra cost associated with wanting to have that peer-to-peer, like Cliff mentioned, wanting to have that peer-to-peer connection or interaction. Is it a scam? More than likely, because Sony and Microsoft could remove it tomorrow, and guess what? It really wouldn't have that great of an impact on their bottom line. And I really don't think it would alter the amount of consoles they ship annually or quarterly, just because they removed that, or even make it free every once in a while. Remove the cost, say, around the holiday season, or even during the summertime. Even better, during the summertime, waive the cost. Won't that just open up the door for you to push more consoles? Cliff says, woof, those 007 GoldenEye games could get legit. I got the golden gun, baby. Man, that golden gun, my friends used to hate me when I played the golden gun. We'd have to turn it off in the rules or the settings. We took the golden gun out. But man, that golden gun with that one-shot kill, man. Woof, golden gun gets the air horn. Double air horn. Golden gun was no joke. But yeah, man, played a lot of GoldenEye. A lot of GoldenEye in person. It was good times. Good times. And if there was a paywall like there is now, me and my friends, we likely would have never had that interaction. We never would have had to have that, peer-to-peer interaction that Cliff highlighted. But that was reason number 8. We're going to mosey along right there. We're almost to the good part. I told y'all, stick around for the last one. And again, hit that like button for me if you haven't yet, on your way in or on your way out. But bouncing over to number 9, and they get pretty straightforward here down the road. But games will continue to be better experience on a PC. That's not going to change. There isn't really anything console makers can do that's going to equal or compete with the performance or all of the different aspects that PC has to offer as a platform. Games are made on computers for computers. I kind of mentioned that earlier when I talked about Pokemon Sword and Shield being developed on a PC or Mac. I don't know what they use, what Game Freak uses, but I do know they use Unity. And Unity is available on Linux, Windows, and Mac. I had another brain freeze. Maybe I'm getting a little hungry. But it's available on all three OSs and on both Mac and PC as a platform. So if it can likely runs better on their dev kits and even in the UI or the software application Unity, in this case it being Unity, it likely runs better than it does on a Switch. But games will continue to be better experienced on a PC for that reason, because they are developed on PCs. They're made on PCs for consoles. It's not the other way around. They won't use consoles. They won't use consoles to make games. They use PCs to make games, simply because the hardware limiters aren't there associated with consoles, which are nothing more than custom PCs on a custom OS. But games will continue to be better experienced on a PC with things like unlocked frame rates. Some of the reasons I'm not going to go through them now, but some of the reasons we highlighted at the top of the stream. Games will continue to be better experienced on a PC for those reasons. Unlocked frame rates, higher level of detail, multi-monitor support, G-Sync support, the ability to change your graphics settings and to alter the presentation of the game. These are all the reasons why games will continue. And I say continue because hardware will continue to improve, even if marginally. Hardware will continue to improve. Yes, Moore's Law attributes something along the lines that the smaller the dies, then there's only so many amount of transistors that can be implemented on the PCB. But games will continue to run better. They will continue to be better experienced on a PC. You can fire up Arkham Knight, a game that's about 7 years old, I want to say. It's something like that, 6 to 8 years old. Not 68, but 6 to 8. About 6 to 8 years old. You can fire up Arkham Knight now on a PS4. Won't look good, probably won't run great either. And your PS4 is going to sound like a jet engine taking off from the middle of the Baltic somewhere. But then you can also take Arkham Knight, playing on modern hardware on a PC, and now you can experience things like a higher resolution output, like 1440p. Or now you can run the game at 1440p max settings, or you can run it at ultra wide. And the experience now is so much better than it would be on that console, even on a PS4 Pro, where it's just marginally better, to where on a PC it is significantly better. And this is why games will continue to be better experienced on a PC. There's no way around it. Consoles can't necessarily keep up, or let alone leapfrog any PC2. And I say PC2, think of PC2 as like the next generation from the one you've previously used. No, there can't be like a whole new complete PC, but a PC2 is just the next iteration of whatever the previous configuration you were using. And consoles will not be able to surpass that. They will not be able to leapfrog that. They will not be able to equate to that. They could continue to use console corporate magic and custom OSs and behind the scenes gimmicks like checkerboarding in the background to achieve what looks to be higher visuals and to stabilize the frame rate. But there's nothing like a native resolution. Native resolution is the same your output resolution is the same resolution as your monitor. There's no downscaling, if you will, which is determined by the software. If that's something you are interested in, another reason why games will continue to be better experienced on a PC. If that's something you would be interested in, you have that affordability by going back to one of the reasons we discussed. I think it was 6 or 7 or 5. If you're in a replay, you made it this far, correct me if I'm wrong. Go ahead, go for it. But having more control of your games is a direct connection to that very thing, to being able to lower your graphics, lower your resolution and your graphics to a point that's acceptable to you. if you're trying to get more FPS from your game and you're not introducing a bottleneck. So you're going to lower the resolution down to 900p, but your output is going to be an upscale 1080p. You're not relying on the console to determine instances of the game where it should do that. And so you notice the game may go from blurry textures to detailed textures when there's not a lot going on, and vice versa. But you have the freedom of control to determine when and where that will take place, and the resolution you could downscale to. You can go even lower to 720p if it's a super competitive game, like one of the games in our background here, Rainbow Six Siege. That's something you're interested in. Cliff says, but Lab, native isn't cool anymore. Get hip. DLSS is cool now. Jeez. DLSS gives the air horn simply because we know how much Cliff loves DLSS. And again, that very much could be the case, though. DLSS was not great when it first came out. I turned it on. I was like, Dad, I'm out. DLSS 2, marginally better, depending on the game. And now we have the test, I believe it's DLSS 4 or 3. Excuse me, with Ada Lovelace. It should be 3. Now with DLSS 3, maybe that's changed. Maybe the tensor cores now are more efficient at, downscaling the image, and it's not sacrificing as much quality for FPS. But where applicable, I mean, I wouldn't recommend DLSS all the time. Depends on the game. The game has to support it as well. Because there's nothing like a native resolution. Nothing like native. Go native whenever it can. That's your game is outputting at the same resolution as your monitor. And your settings, really, if the game is, like if you have legacy hardware or older hardware, the game settings may automatically change for you, or you may be prompted to say, hey, we've already detected your hardware and changed these settings for a smoother gameplay experience. But you still, guess what, have control over saying, you know what, I'm not leaving that up to the AI to determine. I am a human being. I'm a human being. I'm going to make that determination for myself. I'm not going to rely on the console, and I'm not going to rely on the game to determine what's an acceptable level of detail and graphic settings that's tailored for my gameplay experience. I wouldn't rely on AI or the game to do that. You can go in, you can adjust the settings at your own free will. It seems laborious, seems counterintuitive, counterproductive when you just want to sit down and game. The argument that console players will present when it comes to when it comes to their disposition of being a PC gamer, and why being a PC gamer might not be worth it. Oh, you got to mess around with settings, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a plus. It's a plus. It's a benefit to being a PC gamer. We've said this before. Don't look at it like a con. Look at it like a pro. Oh man, is that Z Flowins in the house? Zion, where you been, family? It's good to see you, Zion. How's your PC? How's your experience as a PC gamer? I haven't really had a lot of time to talk about you with it. To talk to you about it. Jeez, man, I almost getting my words out, getting it messed up. But what's happening, Zion? It's good to see you. Hit that like button for us on your way, Zion. Hit that like button for us as we are highlighting 13 reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. I'm going to get caught up in the chat here really fast, but we were on reason number 9, and that's because games or video games will continue to be better experienced on a PC. Zion, number 9, you came in at a perfect time, because you could tell us, has your experience been better since you made the switch over to PC? I know you started out on a budget, on a build that, you had to accommodate you had to sacrifice in some areas and make accommodations, but you were able to get it done and still have a system that has the potential to surpass modern consoles. So let us know in the chat, Z. It's good to see you though, fam. Cliff says, what did I say? NVIDIA would never use DLSS to try and trick us? Nope, not me. I never said that. I only ever use it when I use ray tracing. In other words, almost never. Yeah, no, I totally understand. And for those of you who aren't as familiar with, say, like Cliff's Cliff's hardware disposition. Cliff is a lot like most of us, high end, low budget gamer, or that's what I would consider myself. I'm a high end, low budget PC gamer. I like high end stuff, but I will still find affinity and respect for the lower end budget components and hardware. So it's not that he doesn't have the means, definitely has the means. Just to Cliff, it's not worth it. That's a lot of users. I mean, ray tracing isn't as adapted. It wasn't one of the number one reason I said, because games look better now than they've ever had, with or without ray tracing. That's sans ray tracing, which was just introduced 3 GPU generations ago with the 20 series. Which even then it was not completely adapted. It had to mature and really improve to make it relevant to even turn on. To most people, that's their argument. It's not worth turning on because it's not worth the performance impact, or it's barely noticeable. Games that I have played that I will say without a doubt that I did not regret turning it on as a gamer was Metro Exodus. I think Metro Exodus implemented ray tracing at the time because it was when ray tracing had just popped up on the scene, and I was testing it on a 2080, and I upgraded to a 2080 Ti just because I wanted a better experience myself, side graded, if you will. But Metro Exodus implemented ray tracing really, really well. It made the game look so much better. The game looked good without ray tracing on, and I stand by that. It still looks good. It'll still look good now without ray tracing on, but with ray tracing enabled, it just looks so much better. And the way the light behaved in a lot of the like caverns and caves and abandoned buildings and places you went in Metro Exodus really made the environment stand out, or really created this hyper realistic environment that convince you that yes, this is exactly how light will behave. If I'm standing outside and it's bright and I'm walking into this abandoned shed or warehouse, it should be dark in there. And if the only light source is a candle lit, then the objects in the area around that light should be the only things lit in this entire room. And if I want to see what's over here, I have to walk over there with the flashlight. And it was instances like that that made Metro Exodus worth playing with ray tracing on. One of the reasons why I enjoyed playing it with ray tracing on. If you have the means and you have the ability, give it a try. Maybe you don't notice anything and you're like, yeah, Lab, you're so full of it. I'm with Cliff. Ray tracing, it ain't worth it right now. And you'd be totally within your right to have that disposition. Totally would understand, because again, I turn it on to see the good, the worst FPS output it has to offer, and to see if it's even worth it, depending on the game. Obviously, for a first-person shooter, it's probably not worth it, like Fortnite or Modern Warfare. It's not worth it to turn on ray tracing. But for your single-player immersions, where it's more of like a single-player games, where it's more of a slow burn, depending on the type of gamer you are, it could be worth it to get that extra little bit of detail. Zfluent says, Zion says, yeah, everything is good. I get to play all the games I want, and I'm going to buy a new graphics card on Christmas for the better experience. Big ups for that one, Zfluent. Around that time, I might have some options for you, as I'm looking to shift into, or I guess you could say backtrack a little bit, but might be able to help you with that. So even reach out to LT or Thunder, or hit me up on Instagram. Give me some ideas. Like, let me know, what's your budget you're working with, what games you're going to be looking to play. But you're absolutely right. So Zion is gaming on integrated graphics. Not the best, but it's still a very solid way to get started. Compromise here and there in some graphic settings. Don't play overly demanding games. And it's enough to get you on the platform and get started, where you can drop in like one of the graphics cards we mentioned, a GTX 1660 Super. It's like $219, $225. The 6600 that we displayed here would be a great card that you could pick up around Christmas time, and might even be a little cheaper than what it is here. Might be able to snag it on Amazon, as Amazon run deals and sales for $30 cheaper, maybe $209 or $200, $198. If we get RX 7000 announced, it had to be here soon, around the same time 6000 series was announced, and that was between November and December, then the price on this can come down even more. I mean, we won't see 7600s initially, but just something to take into consideration. Or if you're looking to pick up a card over in the used market, Zion would definitely could help you and be a buyer's guide to getting the right card for. I believe you have a 9600K. Jog my memory really fast here, Zion, and tell us what CPU you have. I want to say it's a 9600K, 9th generation Coffee Lake. Is that 8th generation? It's a 9th generation Intel CPU, 9600K. So let us know, Zion, what CPU you have. Let me know in private what graphics card you could be looking to get around that time, around the holiday season, and could help you out, make a good decision based on that. And are you playing at 1080p? Right now, you're likely playing at 1080p on integrated graphics, but right now you're playing on 1080p. Cliff could also be a good source for us to hit up too. Cliff has, last time I checked, he had a pretty good inventory of legacy cards that would be very suitable for your needs. So it's a win-win situation for the community, as both you and Cliff are members of this community, and Cliff can pocket some money and you could get that better experience you're targeting. That's one of the reasons we talked about here as we switch back to our reasons, was being able to modify your experience or enhance your experience. Something you can't do on consoles. You buy a PS4, you'd be stuck with it. So instead of building your PC, if you went and bought a PS4 Pro, Zion, you wouldn't have that option of getting a better experience by adding to it. You just wouldn't. So still, again, kudos to you. Let's give Zion another round of applause by transitioning over to this platform and being a PC gamer. Welcome to the excuse me, I hate to ruin your applause. But welcome to the family. Welcome to the platform. But yeah, hit me up, Zion. Let me know. So reason number 9 was games will continue to be better experience on PCs. Talked about how games are developed on computers for computers. Consoles will never be able to surpass the performance output that even a modest PC could muster, or if it's one that's competing with a PS5 and a Series SX at that closer to $800 range. And again, there are some areas you can shift and change with this build to get it to a more flexible price, even down to an i3 instead of a i5. Doesn't have to necessarily be this graphics card. You can maybe save $30, $40 going with a different option. It doesn't have to be this case. This power supply, though, I fully recommend not skipping out on a power supply. Look for features like the PSU being fully modular. That means you can interchange the power connectors, and that will help with, say, adding custom cables down the road, or with cable management, just to name 2 of the biggest benefits. And it's also platinum certified. That means it has good energy. It's energy efficient, and it's 650 watts. My recommendation when I'm recommending PSUs, or I'm consulting clients, is to 2x your estimated wattage with this, which this PSU, this power supply unit, would do at 650 watts. This gives you headroom should you, again, want to turn this from a 6600 to a 6900 XT. Let's say 6900 XT prices drop and you can pick one up. It's getting dangerously close to that now, but you can pick one up for about $500-$600 3-4 months from now. Still a very capable card that would leapfrog you in terms of performance. You would need a capable CPU or to pair with, but 9th, 10th generation, you are right around the corner, Zion. As being even then, you have an option with the 8-core 16 thread 9900K. Should you want a faster CPU to pair with a faster graphics card down the road, you would have options. All right, but that was number 9. Switching here to number 10. Reason number 10 out of our 13 reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. And I'll get caught up in the chat. But that sales and deals help make PC gaming affordable. We put all this money into our system. We've saved up for that shiny graphics card, or that super fast multi-core CPU, or 32 gigabytes of RAM, and that super fast storage solution. To turn around, sit and say, damn, I can't, I'm almost broke. I don't have enough money. I have 3 or 4 games I want to buy. I can't do it. But with sales and deals, it helps make PC gaming affordable, because Steam especially, Steam is one of the biggest culprits. And I mean a culprit in a good way, but Steam is one of the biggest culprits to facilitating deals that are sometimes in most cases 30 to 40% off on newer titles, to where a lot of enthusiasts, a lot of users, they'll wait around those seasons, which are pretty common. Like you have one that should be coming up for the fall. There's like a summer sale somewhere in between there. Two of the biggest ones. I typically start shopping and kicking the tires a little bit of some games I've been holding out. But sales and deals help make PC gaming affordable. And by deals, I also mean subscription-based models like Ubisoft Pro Plus. If you are really into playing Ubisoft games like Assassin's Creed, just one of the biggest ones, Watch Dogs. If you're really into Ubisoft games, it could be worth it because you have full access to all of their Assassin's Creed games, and that could definitely hold you over. That is hours upon hours of gameplay, quality gameplay, that you could spend playing those games to hold you over until some other games come out, or say in between sales, right? Buy the game. You don't necessarily have to install it. You install it when you're ready, but still take advantage of that price. If the game normally e-tails at 60 bones, then, and you see it's on sale over on Steam for $24.99, fam, pick that up. Okay, and just leave it queued there. You don't have to install it right away, but take advantage of those savings now, right? So you don't have to pay full price later on down the road. Cliff says, I have a few that would work great for him. I have a 1070 Founders Edition that would be excellent. A couple others as well. Too many, in fact. Yeah. So I mean, again, Zion, if that's something you would, if that's something you'd be interested in, I could serve as a liaison, or we can all jump on a group messaging thread, and we can hash out the details, see how much, see what your budget's like around that time. And you never know, circumstances could change, and you might be able to add a little bit more, and you go from saying I only have about $100 or $150, which could still put you somewhere in between like a 9th generation NVIDIA graphics card. I mean, you have no graphics card, so honestly, any graphics card that's north of 4 gigabytes of VRAM is going to be adequate enough for you. So let us know if that's something you'll be interested in. As Cliff has, Cliff is a mobile micro center over there. He has plenty of cards. I gotta hit him up, for crying out loud. Sheesh. But number 10, again, sales and deals help make PC gaming affordable. If this is more so for those who haven't made the leap over yet, and you're concerned about buying games, will it cost too much? Yes, unfortunately, they cost the same as they do in your typical brick and mortar stores. That's a whole nother live stream and rant. I've talked to Mrs. Mod about that, and we've talked about it on previous live streams. But in a nutshell, I just don't think that if the game is digital, it shouldn't necessarily cost the same as a physical copy of the game. There's no printing of the plastic case. There's no printing of any cover art, which is super limited. Back in the day, here I go dating myself again. But for some of us who were like 90s kids and 80s babies, when we bought games, man, there used to be detailed books and manuals that came with those games, that cover art and just backstories and additional context on top of the game that was printed and came along with it. And that's a trend that seemed to have stopped around the PS4 era, when games made their last significant leap over to $60. It's like they started taking less and less away from it. But when you're buying games digital, you don't have that problem. It's just a digital download, but we still pay the same as our console counterparts do. That's a whole nother argument. It's a whole nother debate. It's economics, and I guess not all things that are meant to be fair are meant to be equal, right? So console gamers have to pay full price. We have to pay full price too. Although you can buy physical PC discs, it's just not as common anymore because games have gotten larger in file size. That's a byproduct to being able to have things like better detail and better accessibility and menu options in our games. They've also come with heftier, healthier download and install sizes as well. It's a necessary evil. So, but switching back to number 10, take advantage of deals and Steam sales. Deals like games, you can subscription models. We calculated you can run 3 or 4 of the biggest games as a service or subscription models, and it costs you under $20. That's from the that was from the Origin, from EA's Origin, from Ubisoft Plus to the Microsoft Game Pass. Just 3 of the biggest ones where some of the most common games can be found. And even then on that live stream, we talked about how you can use the games on those launchers as a bridge until you're able to save up and say buy some of the games that aren't on there, like your Red Dead Redemption 2s, which is going to hold you over for quite a while. Your Witcher 3s, again, another game that's going to hold you over for quite a while. And if you're able to pick that on the Steam sale for like $20 or even under $20, it's definitely worth the buy. I bought the Game of the Year edition on a Steam sale for $24.99. It had all the DLC, all the things. It had all the things. And I paid under $30 for it. It was a heck of a steal. And my general rule of thumb is I need at least 1 hour for every dollar I spent on the game. And I've long surpassed that with The Witcher 3. I'm close to 100 hours, and I don't even think I'm still at the tip of the iceberg. But take advantage of sales and deals. It's going to help make PC gaming affordable. It's going to help you put more of your budget in other places, or put it towards performance enhancing components that will increase the FPS output of your games. Cliff says, I grumble about this whenever I look at my big box PC games of old. Why can't we get that? Yeah, I mean, and like Cliff said, of old, but think about modern games now. How many installed discs they would take? Probably like 6 or 8. But the PC box art, though, I will say, was really, really dope. Like, it was really unique, and it was almost like a book. When you unfolded each layer and you saw the concept art, or you saw story details and pamphlets and books, it was well worth it at the time to picking up. And we had to anyway, because we haven't moved into the internet era where we are with bandwidth and internet speeds. You had to take those physical discs and install the game onto your drive. But big box PC games really made for some great shelf candy. Even, I mean, it just looked good to have that on your shelf or next to near on your setup that you could just glance over in appreciation while you're enjoying the game. Very old school benefit there to buying discs and buying physical copies of PC games, and it's just not as common. Every time I go into like a Walmart, before Walmart sold, I remember buying Command and Conquer from Walmart and World of Warcraft and the expansions from Walmart at a time. And when I go in there now, I glance over there and you just really don't see them. I think Micro Center sells games too, but I mean, in the era, it's just faster, more convenient to just, I could alt tab right now to Steam, and if Steam was running a sale and somebody say, hey Lab, X game is over on available on Steam, I'm like, oh, hold on, let me buy that real quick. Alt tab, boom, boom, go, and switch back to the live stream. I don't have to go into Walmart. I don't have to come back and install the discs one by one at a time, download it, install it in the background, keep either right on playing the game or go on to the next task to get ready. So take advantage of sales and deals. It will and can help PC gaming more affordable. Don't spend all of your budget on your game. Save some for your hardware as well. There are ways that can, you can save money with some of the most popular games that are out now. Okay. So that was reason number 10. Bouncing down over to reason number 11. And that is dedicated keyboard and mouse support. Now, not everybody likes playing on a keyboard and mouse on a PC. I keep an Xbox controller, OG Xbox controller. It's an Easter egg, something just dropped from it, but it's an Easter egg. I've had this Xbox controller for years, like longer than some of the hardware I've had. I've had this Xbox controller since the first Xbox dropped. But it's my go-to for games like Madden, of course, quite naturally, Madden. I like playing The Witcher 3 with the controller. I like playing Skyrim with the controller. I like playing most of the RPG games. I like playing with my controller. Fallout was one of them. Probably half the games I play with the controller. But dedicated keyboard and mouse support is something that is becoming more and more accessible, simply because we have different mice with DPI settings, wired, wireless, some that have RGB, some that don't. So there's really a lot of different options depending on the type of gamer you are. But consoles don't have dedicated mouse support. There's gimmicks and hacks you have to, deploy to get to work around it. And even then, plug-ons. Woo. Like Just different peripherals and different plugins you'd have to buy for your Xbox to even run a keyboard and mouse. And even then, it's very wonky. And then the game would have to support it as well. But over on PC, we have dedicated mouse support quite naturally out of the box. And even to play with a controller, you can get yourself a wireless dongle like this here and plug it into your laptop or computer, and you're good to go. Wired or wireless, I can run this even if I didn't have this. I could run this with a standard micro USB right into the USB in my computer, and I could still use it and it'd be good to go. Having choices and options is good for games like first-person shooters, and especially competitive first-person shooters. Having that dedicated keyboard and mouse support is just going to elevate your ability and your skills in said game. It's going to make you a better competitor. You have faster reactionary time and response time with the keyboard and mouse. You have better articulation with the mouse. You can turn better versus using joystick dongles. You can move quicker, strafe better, going left to right, be able to jump, shoot. You can react much quicker when you have dedicated mouse and keyboard support. This is another one that's pretty straightforward and super obvious, because if you don't have a keyboard and mouse, good luck with getting anything done. Good luck getting anything done initially on your PC. Cliff says, I bought Quantum Break and Death Stranding PC box. Both of those games look great. Quantum Break especially. I remember playing Quantum Break and being hyped when it came out on the Xbox. And I tried watching a TV show. I just couldn't get into it. But it did. Quantum Break released with the TV show alongside the game, for those who didn't know. And Death Stranding too. Another Sony exclusive that made its way over to the PC. A lot of people didn't see that coming as well. But that's a game too. Not for me, but I am a fan of Kojima games and like the Metal Gear Solid franchise. But the game did, I will not deny how well the game looked on PC. A beautiful looking game, and I'm pretty sure the box art looked good as well. Cliff said they are still out there, but even those pale compared to the OG big box ones. Yeah, and I mean the PC cases were like, I mean, they were vertical. They were like long or tall and wide. And they were filled. I mean, so much detail, so much art style. You could tell a lot of effort and work I put into it, that you would want to put it on the shelf to appreciate all of its glory and the work that was put into it. But dedicated keyboard, again, dedicated keyboard and mouse support, straightforward. Most games on the PC are designed around keyboard and mouse, KBM, but having that option of either a Sony controller or even an Xbox controller, it's just an added benefit to gaming on a PC. You don't have that option when you're playing on a console. It's just that controller of choice. If it's a PS5, you can only use Sony controllers. If it's an Xbox, you can only use Microsoft controllers. But on PC, you have the benefit of both, fam. One of the benefits, one of the reasons, still, it may seem minute or not as significant as the others, but still a significant deal considering that you don't have that option over on consoles. When you're gaming on a PC, you have options that extends beyond changing the way the game looks and runs and feels, the components that go inside, RGB or not RGB. Cliff says, we know Lab is a filthy casual. Controller casual. 3X air horns, yes. Guilty and fully admitted. I am a filthy console controller casual. I admit 50% of the games I play, I use my controller. Here recently though, I have been playing Resident Evil Village 8 on keyboard and mouse, and that was only because my controller batteries had died and I didn't have the micro USB cord next to me, and I wanted to keep playing, so I was like, F it, let me just WASD it up. And I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't that bad. Okay, I can. Yeah, it feels better. It feels better when you're using a keyboard and mouse. The games just feel better. It's more convenient because I'm an old turtle and I'm a slow learner. And I don't. But when I'm playing games that are competitive, Call of Duty Warzone, I do not play with a controller when I do fire it up. Fortnite, I do not play with a controller when I fire it up. And that's typically the extent of it. When I did play PUBG on PC, I didn't play that with a controller either. I played it with the keyboard and mouse. It just felt better. But games that are slow burn, like Resident Evil, Skyrim, those games, I play with the controller. I am guilty as charged. I am guilty as charged. I'm gonna dance with the controller for a second. Here you go. Let me switch it back real quick.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted, and you know
One more
I'm
time
leaving.
for the
I'ma
controller,
take
y'all.
what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood, and my tongue keeps bleeding from the words I spit. So sharp, so freezing, so cold.
All right, enough of that nonsense. Let's get back to the conversation at hand. But you have options. You have options as a PC gamer. It's one of the reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. Is options. And again, games feel better when you're able to play them on a keyboard and mouse. So having dedicated keyboard and mouse support, super important, super impactful on your experience as a gamer. In this case, a PC gamer. Bouncing on to number 12. We're almost to that special number 13 I told y'all to stick around for. I told y'all you wouldn't see it coming. That number 13 will shock you. But before we get there, we got to talk about number 12. And that's the ability to do more than just play games. You have the ability to do more than just game or run your games. One of the reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer or to get into PC gaming is, again, you have the ability to do more than just play games. Well, you say, Lab, what in the hot dog can I do other than just run my games? Well, maybe you're a super social gamer and you want to chat with your friends on Discord. You don't want to use in-game chat. You don't want to use Fortnite in-game chat or Warzone chat. Or maybe you want to talk to people who aren't playing the game, so you can talk with your friends on Discord using your microphone and still have the game audio playing. It won't disrupt your experience as a gamer. Or you want to listen to music while watching a video in the background. Maybe that's what you're doing now, right? Like, salute to you, fam, if you watching me right now and you're gaming. I feel honored. I feel honored to be blessed by your presence while you're doing a thing that we all here love to do, and that's play games, especially on a PC. But when you're, as a PC gamer, you have the ability to do more than just run your games. You can stream and record your gameplay for posterity or for content. Maybe you just want to keep video proof of all those sweet Fortnite kills you got, right? Or, maybe you got some victories in Call of Duty Warzone, Battlefield 2042. Bless your heart if you're trudging along through it. I couldn't. Battlefield 2042, or you're getting into content creation and you want to create a gaming channel, or you use gameplay videos for commentary, as a background for commentary, or you just want to upload gameplay videos to show your friends. You can do so much more. You have the ability to do so much more on your PC than just play games. It's not like a console, where a console entertainment device, you're going to be able to watch media, play media. You can't do much of anything else in between. It's not a content creation device per se. It takes other outliers to get it to that point. Caption card, second PC to record, capture your gameplay from your console. But as it stands, yeah, you can stream directly to things like Twitch and YouTube from the consoles, but it's not the good, better, best approach to creating content. As a PC gamer or getting into PC gaming, making your way over to this platform, you have the ability to do more than just game. You don't need another PC to run a dual setup unless you absolutely wanted to enhance your streaming capabilities. Right? One game's for encoding and streaming, one system is for gaming and streaming, or gaming and encoding, and streaming and encoding, and the other system is for gaming. There you go. Damn it! I finally said it. Cliff says do the Tootsie Roll. I would sing it, but man, YouTube's gonna take that. YouTube's gonna be like, nope, you don't want the rights to that. But yeah, man, cotton candy, sweet as gold. Cliff wants to see me do the Tootsie Roll. I'm not doing it. I'll do the Tootsie Roll. Maybe I'll say that for channel members when we do a pop-up live stream. We'll have a little fun with that. Man, that's an old school dance, Cliff. What you know about the Tootsie Roll? Mrs. Maya said do the butterfly. That is, though, both of those are old school dances. We got some young fam in the audience who are probably like, what in the HE double are they talking about? Do the Tootsie Roll. They probably thinking of Star Fox when he was like, do a barrel roll. Do a Tootsie Roll. That's what what's his name to the Toad Fox. Do a Tootsie Roll. Do a barrel roll. And the butterfly. I'd have to stand up to do the butterfly. Y'all can't see me. I'm doing it, but I had to stand up to the butterfly. Cliff told Mrs. Mod do the butterfly. We're gonna put a camera on Mrs. Mod. But all good stuff, y'all. All good stuff. Where is everybody at? Join the chat, y'all. Join the conversation. Our replay viewers, I hope y'all, again, even though y'all weren't here with us before we switch into number 13, let me just say this. I know our replay fam, y'all might not have been here with us, but you can still engage and be a part of the conversation after the live stream airs. We would love to have y'all join in on the fun. Come join us, fam. What are you waiting for? We love to have you over there. Mrs. Ma says we definitely showing our age. We telling our age. Yeah, Clifton definitely talking about some. He played the heck out of Golden at 007, GoldenEye. If you played a lot of GoldenEye, then yeah, I know you about in the same generation class as I am. But all good stuff. All right. But our replay viewers, you too can still be a part of the conversation. You too can still be a part of the weekly live experience. Days, months, weeks, years after this video has aired. Still comment on down below and about anything we've discussed along the way, or any value you want to add to the conversation, or even take away if you didn't necessarily agree with me, because that's okay too. I am a big advocate of constructive and destructive criticism. Don't matter. You will never grow if you won't try to learn how to do something differently, or have an alternative perspective about something. But number 12, again, you have that ability to do more than just game or run your games. You can chat with friends on Discord or whatever your VC of choice is. Listen to music, Spotify, TikToks in the background, whatever your cup of tea is. Go ahead and pour some lemon in it and take a sip, fam. You can stream and record your gameplay again for, just for record keeping, just to hold on to, or if you're creating content, you can do that as well. It's going to be so much easier to do that on a console. And in fact, if you were looking for a system as a baseline, this system here that I quickly configured for all purposes and for this live stream, for all intents and purposes of this live stream, excuse me, while maybe not 1080p, you maybe want to lower your streaming settings down, or even your resolution, say like 720p, 900p, just for a positive viewing experience. But even this system would be able to do just that. Record your gameplay and stream your gameplay. Maybe not record and stream, this will be very taxing on your CPU, and it's only an i5, a capable one, but it still has the bones to get it done, to still be able to stream. You would have to just make some accommodations, but it would be a good start for you if you were looking to break into content creation. I am considering, because it's not relevant to a lot of the community here, but I have been considering a masterclass, like a unlisted masterclass for content creators who are looking specifically for a PC for content creation. While I will say, though, what seems to be the more popular option or choice is a Mac for non-gaming content creators. But for gaming content creators, I've noticed they are almost always looking for a capable PC or PC they can start their content creation career off of as a streamer, Twitch streamer or YouTube, doesn't matter. But yeah, Cliff says, I can still kick it. I might need 3 days to recoup in the ice pack afterwards, but I'm in it. Yeah, that's me after full court basketball. Whoa, full court. I don't know if I would do full court. I'll tell you right now, maybe not full court. Maybe I would need to not have to do anything for like ever. But half court, yeah, half court of basketball hour. I need a what they call it in Dragon Ball Z, a hyperbolic time chamber or whatever the pod they use to heal. I need one of those. As long as Goku is in it, I need that same amount of time. Dancing just as much, because dancing can be a very strenuous. It can be a strenuous workout. It can. We're gonna have to come rescue Cliff off of the dance floor for that lab con that I'm planning. For that lab con we planning in 3 years, right? All good stuff. All right, but no, seriously. The switch back here, we were on number 12, and that's the ability to do more than just play games. Again, we talked about you can, one of the reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer, is you have the affordability to do more than just run your games, do more than just play games in the background. You can chat with friends on Discord, listen to music, or watch a video in the background, watch Inside the Lab, and get caught up on that back content or that back catalog of videos that could use some love and support in the algo by with your views and your likes and your comments and all the time, all the things, and stream and record your gameplay for content or for record keeping. You have all the benefits. Now, what you all been waiting for. I would do a drum line, but I don't have it on my stream deck. So, but I will do a now for number 13, right? The one you've all been waiting for, the one I said may shock you as to, one of the reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. We talked about it throughout the duration of this live stream. We mentioned some of the subcategories of this potential reason why. WASD moves Cliff, a regular viewer, longtime viewer like Sparta Rolls 1993, who's hope is still with us. Longtime viewers, we talked about it throughout the duration of this live stream. Cliff brought it up. I talked about it in previous live streams or previous videos. I've hinted around it, and that's what hyperbaric chamber, right? That's what I would need. Cliff says, heck yeah, I have 2 left legs, but that never stopped me. Good. Let's give Cliff's 2 left legs get the air horn. But one of the saving the best for last. Saving the absolute best for last. This could be even a bit opinionated. Let me switch back here really fast. Some would consider this as a slight opinionated, but I'm going to say it with absolute fact for the sake of this live stream. But number 13, or one of the reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer, is, you ready? You wait for it. The community. Now, I would have to bounce up to the chat here to find that statement. Here we go. I want to read back here really fast before I dive into my points as to why that is. Because it's not like Cliff sat in for the development of this run of show, of today's live stream. So he didn't know that number 13 was going to be the shocking reason why now is the perfect time to get into PC gaming. I'm almost willing to bet that you likely didn't see this coming, even with that subtle hint I gave right around when Cliff had said that. But Cliff has said, so you don't have to scroll up in the chat, I'm going to do it for you and our replay viewers. Cliff said, I've had a few new PC gamers. Love those. Love them. They support the platform. They keep the platform going. I've had a few new PC gamers say one thing they love once they moved over was the community. The community was so helpful, so welcoming, and they felt like they were a part of PC gaming as a whole, not divided as console gaming can be between platforms. Or I don't know if they went together at the time, but core part of his statement, of Cliff's statement, was new PC gamers say one of the things they say they loved once they moved over was the community. Why is that? Why even, that validates number 13 before I even hinted as to what number 13 was. Earlier in the show, if you were brazen enough to rewind and go back to measure my, there we go, to measure my facial expression and trying to hold it together by not disclosing, like, wow, that's actually the last reason. And it's so significant. And Cliff just added to that. But fam, believe you me, that was not, that was not set up that way. That was not plotted that way. It was not pre-planned. Again, Cliff had no idea what these 13 reasons was going to be. But that right there was the highlight of all 13 of them. One of the best reasons why, one of the perfect reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer is the community. It's the access to the community. As Cliff said, most of the new PC gamers say the community was welcoming and helpful. If that's you, you're in the right community. That's us. That's the Lab Fam. If you're a subscriber, you are part of Lab Fam. Hell, if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to be a part of Lab Fam. What are you waiting for? Subscribers really do help me create content, and it helps me unlock new features here on YouTube. It helps validate my position as a micro influencer, as a tech influencer. I'm no Jay and all those other guys. I'm me. I'm Lab. But community is what makes us special. They have their community. We have ours. Theirs are so big, they're not accessible. Ours is moderately big or small, depending on the eye of the beholder, where we are more accessible. We could help one another. We can help people like Zion make meaningful hardware upgrades. People like Les or Choppy Les. Where the flip are y'all at, man? But we can help people in the community. I'm poking fun. We can help people in the community like that by sharing our experiences, by sharing our knowledge. Each of us, all of us, each with different setups, configurations, and expectations, but all with the same target in mind. We all want to play video games in their best possible form. And that's achievable on budgets of all different sizes. Maybe Cliff wants to, for example, Cliff doesn't like ray tracing. Maybe the next person wants a 20 series graphics like a 2060 so they can turn on ray tracing in some areas. Maybe they want to utilize DLSS. I saw a brand new 2060 over on Amazon for $260. Ironically, it's $259, but still. But the community is one of the reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. The community, our community especially, super helpful, super willing to share, again, our knowledge and welcome different budgets of different sizes. We don't have this superiority mindset. There is no, your PC has to be at least $1,000 to be accepted in this community, or for us to even interact and talk to you. You have to have a graphics card. It's NVIDIA or bust, and Intel is the best way to go. If you don't have an Intel CPU, then you've wasted your money. That's not us. That's not this community. Largely in part, that's not most of the communities on this platform. Okay? We each have different setups, configurations, Intel, NVIDIA, AMD, NVIDIA, Intel, AMD. We all have different configurations, 8 gigabytes, 16 gigabytes, 32, 500 gigabyte SSD, 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte. Okay? 750 watt power supply, 1000 watt power supply, mid-size tower, full-size tower, micro, mini, ATX. We all have different configurations and different setups, but we all have the same target in mind. And that's to experience games in their best possible form. Regardless of budget, regardless of how much you had to spend. The community is strong. The community will always be strong. This community, the Inside the Lab Fam community, strong, helpful, willing to share knowledge and experiences, help buyers make educated and informed decisions and choices with their system, and upgrades and side grades, from monitors to keyboards to gaming mice to cases. Pretty soon we'll branch into other peripherals like headsets and microphones for those who want to enhance their interaction with peers, not just for content, but just an easier setup to play multiplayer games with their friends and family. That's our community. The community is one of the best reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. For help, for direction, troubleshooting, a sense of relatability, a sense of purpose, a connection. My PC may be $800, your PC may be $1,400. Guess what, fam? I bet you both our PCs have at least 6 of the main 7 freaking components. That doesn't make me any better than you. It doesn't make you any less of a person than me. We all have the same target in mind. Community is always a positive thing. I break it down when I ask you to sign up for our email list, which Mrs. Ma dropped in the chat. Which, again, if you haven't yet, sign up for our email list. Become an Inside the Lab insider. Okay? Become an insider. Sign up for our email list. I get personal on our emails. I talk about things don't really talk about publicly on socials and even here on the live streams. If I'm going through something and it's affecting the content, I'm going to let our insiders know. Personally, financially, doesn't matter. I'm going to let our insiders know. You guys and gals are the core of this community. Channel members, you guys are the blood, sweat, and tears of this community. I mean, you support me financially. Ads don't really pay a lot on YouTube. So other things like super chats and getting that sweet super chat rap.
Super chat.
But
You got a super rap.
getting the super chat rap and things and super chats and super stickers and channel members, they really support the initiative, the mission. But community, it's all about unity. All about a sense of unity. That's like-minded individuals coming together, communing, or the first part of that, common or commune, coming together in unity, all with the same thing in mind. We all want to experience games in their best possible forms. That's not on a console. So this community isn't for console gamers. But if you are a console gamer, our goal is to get you over to this platform by any means necessary. Legal. Legal. Y'all not getting me hemmed up. But any legal means necessary. That's our goal. That's what we strive for. And that's 13 reasons why now is the perfect time to be a PC gamer. But if there's one thing you take away from today's show, is this. There's no better why than the one that's best answered for yourself or by yourself. And out of the 13 reasons I presented to you today and we presented to you today, I hope you'll find at least one you can relate to. One that's convincing enough to consider, or that will allow you to or give you the boost and motivation to consider joining the platform and or supporting the platform. The more and more we welcome in new PC gamers, the more relevant our platform will be for years to come. It will never die. It will never fade. It will never go away. We will be able to experience games in the way, Lab's opinion, quote me on this if you will, we will be able to experience games in the way they were originally meant to. And that's on a PC. Ooh, all right, let me get caught up in the chat here really fast before as the ride slowly comes to an end. Cliff says, I have met so many great people. The experience brings all kinds of people from all walks of life together. I will say I'm so glad I started creating content in this field. I have other channels in mind as I branch the media business out and get into other conversations and topics. And if there are niches that you're interested in, they won't necessarily be related to PC gaming. But if it's something you're interested in, you can always inquire. But I won't cross promote channels that aren't relevant to each other. I'm not a fan of cross promoting channels anyway. It's like if I go create a gaming channel and I actually, hey, subscribe to my gaming channel, it's like, well, I game on this channel. Unless it's gaming specific, hint, then that's just is what it is. But I too have met so many great people in this community, our community, and people who have become people who've come and gone, even if you will. I still am appreciative of the opportunity of engaging with them, with those subscribers and viewers, followers, what have you, who maybe fell out of touch with PC gaming or just fell out of touch. Maybe they found me boring as a content creator and they keep PC gaming. That's fine too. But I have met a lot of great people and experienced all different levels of conversation that I wouldn't otherwise had if I not had branched out into creating content, let alone on PC gaming. Cliff said the media wanted so bad for years to raise the banner and proclaim PC gaming is dead, but we have stuck together, brought new people into the fold together under the same banner. Yes, absolutely. And round of applause to those. And again, like I mentioned in the wrap up, that have continued to join the platform, and not only just join the platform, but support the platform, support the community, sharing their experiences, improve their experience. But all right, y'all, I think the ride's slowly coming to an end. We lost all kind of viewers. But I do appreciate everybody stopping by. Let's give our quick salutes and send-offs here really fast. Up there goes our round of applause. First and foremost, shout out to brother WASD News, brother Cliff's super interactive and engaging, and yes, that word. Super, it was just engaging in the chat and adding value to the conversation. Z Fluent for popping in. I know we lost a few people, but I'm still going to salute them on our way out. Let me see. Sparta Rules 1993 being a channel member. Of course, salute and shout out to Sparta Rules 1993 as a master builder, I believe. And Les popped in with a smiley face and popped out. I guess they said that was enough for me. And Cliff, of course, with the super chat earlier. Super sticker. That looks like it's a super sticker. Appreciate the super sticker, brother Cliff. Throwing $5 at us. And chop chop. I believe that was it. All right. All right, we got everybody. Thanks for stopping by. We will be live again. I'm not sure if it's this weekend or next weekend. There are a couple of videos I would like to shoot and record. One talking about the RTX 4090 and 4080 and share my thoughts and future predictions of that hardware launch and how that could affect the GPU market. I just don't want to do a vanilla reaction to it. I actually want to add additional value to the conversation. So do keep a lookout for that video. Again, if you made it this far on the replay, thank you for making it this far. It's been quite a lengthy one. But if you have any questions or concerns about anything discussed, hit me up on socials or leave your comment right here in the chat. Stick around for the after credits scene if you haven't seen them yet. Do hope to catch you on the next one. So until then, as Cliff says, y'all awesome. Hope y'all have a great afternoon. You as well, Cliff. But thanks for hanging out here during this YouTube live stream. I do hope to catch you all in the next one. So until then, be easy and enjoy these credits. Peace out, y'all.